Part 3. Day 219. Recently I've been thinking, about the year I came back, moved in with my dad again. I don't remember weighing the pros and cons, really. I remember hating how isolated the Bay Area made me feel. How fun it was coming home from school to play online video games with my old buddies from back home, hearing their voices and all. I don't know. It just felt right. Like, why was it so much easier talking to them, feeling close to them, than it was making new friends? I went that whole year without getting my hair cut. But again, I've been thinking about it differently than I used to. Not all, that year was cold and sad, but more in terms of my mom and what I lost out on when I left her to go back to my friends and my dad. I mean, goddamn, I was 12. How was I supposed to know the damage that puberty without my biological mother would do me? I wasn't supposed to. But my mom and dad didn't really talk anymore, and I guess mom thought I'd brew resentment toward her if she didn't let me go. I get it. I can't imagine having to tell your preteen boy that he can't go back to what he knows. That because dad cheated on mom, he has to live with the consequences, too. Fuck, it makes my eyes water to think how short-changed my mom was through all of it. Being left behind, her marriage having fallen apart. Like, if I had found out about the cheating before I was 17, maybe I wouldn't have left her. Maybe I would have stayed in the Bay and just sucked it up, Though I'm sure that would have led to other traumas, like heavy drugs or alcoholism. Not because of the feelings. Well, maybe partly because of the feelings and my inability to handle them, but because I would have grown up so differently. In Cancun, I learned violence and macho shit, like how to make out with someone at a nightclub, or how to get drunk enough that the monkey in your head never got in the way. I learned that power controls everything, not competence, like here in the States. If you wanted something done, all you needed was enough money or connections. All of that made me a very angry child. I mean, I was angry already. I hit my brother in the stomach with a baseball bat because I couldn't stand the way he laughed at me one night. But I mean angry at nearly everything, man. School, girls, family, technology, friends, you name it. I even learned how to cheat because of it. I'm not sure exactly if it was through osmosis from watching my dad or my friends who taught me to master the art of cheat sheets taped under clothing. But boy was I an expert at it. I was so good at it that I never really studied or even knew what that meant. So good I managed to hold down a 2.5-year-long relationship with a girl I cheated on 6 months into said relationship. With her best friend, too. Anyway, all that to say that I've been wondering what I would be like today had I chosen a mom instead of a dad, the U.S. over Mexico. Maybe I've been reading too many books about addiction, but part of me thinks I would have found heavy drugs like meth or heroin if I'd stayed. I wasn't ever exposed to them in Mexico, but all the other ones like weed, alcohol, cigarettes, the ones I was exposed to, I tried and I kept on doing them. It wasn't hard for me to stop. I quite often would. The problem was why I even did them in the first place. I wanted to look cool, act cool, fit in with the crowd. There's not a doubt in my mind I would have done the same with other drugs. Hell, just reading about them spikes my curiosity way beyond my comfort zone. The question is, would I have made it out? Or would those have been enough to put an end to the feelings? Maybe meth could have quieted the voice in my head that told me mom never really loved me or else she wouldn't have relocated somewhere so far away from our family. Maybe heroin could have put me to sleep all those nights I chose instead to finger my asshole on camera for older men because I needed so badly to feel wanted, to feel desired and accepted, to feel loved. It strikes me when I wake up today, this debilitating feeling that nobody really cares about me. Without the constant affection of a girlfriend, I don't know who I am or what I mean to anyone. Having gotten so close to Nat last night reminds me what that's like. Being intimate with someone beyond sex, sharing spaces and ideas and time, and sometimes money. I wish I could find the same kind of strength in myself that I do in women. I wish being sad, jealous, or hurt didn't automatically mean I would lose all self-control. I pick up on it. Even if I block it out at times, I always know when I'm making a mistake. My self-esteem is just so damn pitiful that I can't bear the thought of telling someone I love that I made a mistake, or that I don't want to be in a relationship with them any longer. Part of me needs them in order to keep functioning. It's so fucking stupid, man, because this whole thing I've been building the last 2 months, trying to become independent again, whatever that looks like, it all seems to be falling apart just because Nat and I happen to run into each other at the gym. Is it really that easy for me to throw everything away and dive deep into this shameful hole of damaging self-doubt again? Or am I being too intense about things? I can no longer tell right from wrong, so instead I act on impulse and text her back. I'd love to try another drink tonight. Sorry last time didn't pan out well. She picks me up in her white Dodge Challenger. When I get in the car, I notice how much nicer she's dressed from last night. Wow, You look amazing, I say, taking in her red dress and silver earrings, the smell of her hair and the tingling sensation in my body when we kiss on the cheek and some of her lipstick gets on me. She blushes heavily before saying, So, I was thinking we could go to Rainy and just kind of bounce around? I haven't been there in a minute. Let's do it. I get hard 2 or 3 times before we even get to Rainy. I just went from miserably doing nothing in my bedroom to sitting in this gorgeous girl's car about to get a drink with her. I might as well call her baby again. I order a margarita and a vodka tonic at the bar and walk back to our table. I get excited when she lets me pay for her drink, like all of a sudden that means we're not just friends or something. It's outings like these that make me think the bar scene isn't all that bad. I'm sitting with a beautiful girl, having beautiful conversation, and life is pretty good. All that's missing is for it to last. I'm working on a new collection of stories. Remember the first one? She nods. These are way darker, at least the ones I have so far. Tell me about them. One's about a bus driver slowly losing his mind. It's like Taxi Driver meets Patterson. I know she hasn't seen either of those movies, but I try not to stop to over-explain this time. Another's about a kid that goes searching for a lost dog. They all start out seeming like normal stories, but then turn into nightmares that slowly get worse and worse. That's kind of the running theme in the book. I hope I get to read it. My parents got me a Kindle and I've been reading The Gunslinger on it. It's so crazy, but so good. What's that about? It's a Stephen King book. I'm about a third of the way in, but honestly, I don't really know what it's about yet. There's time travel, magic, and a dude that wants to kill a kid for reasons I have yet to find out. Oh, they're making a movie, right? Or already did? With, Idris Elba and McConaughey? Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Having only one drink in me, I already feel like Nat and I know what we're doing so much better this time around. Nothing feels this good if it's bad for you, especially not if it involves other people. As I stand and go buy 2 more drinks, I start fantasizing about being with her again. Having Nat by my side will make me invincible. Having a girlfriend won't leave any time for me to search Craigslist and fuck around with other men. I'll focus on my jobs, my writing, and Nat. I'm sure things will work this time. They have to. I'm not even going to consider alternatives. It feels so damn right. I want us both to acknowledge it and get it over with, so we can be comfortable again. Holding hands, kissing, touching each other. We finish that round of drinks by 10 and hop to a different bar to order the same drinks. Rainy Street is packed on Friday nights, but tonight I couldn't care less about everyone else. It's loud, full of obnoxious drunk people, but I'm zoned in on Nat, and I can tell she's zoned in on me too. It was never like this when we were dating. I know because of that how real it is this time. No more pressuring each other into things or feigning interest when we'd rather be somewhere else. The Nat sitting in front of me tonight is a woman, no longer a girl. She's interesting and charismatic. Her sense of humor is back and better than ever. She looks like she's settled into her own skin, like she knows how fucking good she looks right now, biting her lips and sucking down her margaritas. Do you want to get food? She asks, our drinks half full. We can chug these real quick. I chug. She follows my lead. We run out of the bar toward the food truck park like children on a playground. We get in line for Chinese and scarf it down. You see that guy over there? I point at the tallest man around us, bald. Does he seem familiar? Sort of. I can't place him. His name's Zach Oberon. We saw him at that book signing earlier this year, remember? Oh yeah. He works with, what's his name, right? Tucker Max, yeah. He's the co-founder of Book in a Box. And lives among peasants like us. What an honor. We laugh. Do you want to get out of here? Her face lights up. She smiles and says, Yeah, let's go. On the way to her car, she asks if I can drive. Legally, I shouldn't. Not after 4 drinks and without a license. Of course I can drive. As she hands me the keys, I pull her in for a kiss. I missed you, I say. I missed you too. We hold hands the rest of the walk, shyly at first, finding our footing. We kiss again in the car. Driving us to my apartment as we listen to her music, I'm filled with notions of grandeur. After she leaves tomorrow, I'll start a new short story. It'll be about a couple that hasn't talked in years and their evening getting a drink together. That's all. I'll work in details from the last few days and make it the most romantic short story that ever existed. I'll work out after that and then go swim or do something outside. There are so many things I want to do now that I don't have to worry about feeling alone. So much of my time has been wasted just coping. I'm finally going to catch a much-needed break. My cock could not be harder. Nat and I barge into my apartment and then my bedroom, making out and paying no mind to Bailey's defensive barking. It really is like they showed in the movies. Clothes fall off of us on their own as we fall to the bed. My shoes and her shoes dance as they fly off of our feet. Our bodies radiate warmth and press against each other. I'm on birth control, she says. Okay. I slide inside of her and pull hard on her hair. I don't have the patience to be gentle. I want her to remember what she's been missing out on, to feel something she's forgotten how to. She moans louder as I thrust. I think of that first time in our apartment when neither of us knew the other very well yet. This doesn't feel all that different. We have a history, that's for sure, but 2 months apart is a long time. The muscle memory remains. What's changed is the emotionality. We're not falling in love. We're remembering what it's like to be in love. I love you, she says. I love you too. I want you to come inside of me, baby. I'm gonna come so fucking hard. Do you want my cum inside you? Yes, baby. I want it so bad. Give it to me. Oh. We both yell out in ecstasy. Something warm flows down my cock even as it's still inside of her. I pull out and take a whiff. It's piss. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, she says. Ugh, that's so embarrassing. I put my arms around her and say, honey, hey, it's okay. It's just a little bit of pee. It's natural. It'll wash off. She gives me puppy dog eyes and says she's sorry again, but I just hold her closer. I've really missed you, you know. I think things would be different if we tried again. I've been thinking the same thing the whole night. I love you so much, Nick, you have no idea. While she's in the bathroom rinsing off, I hear her phone vibrate. It's out in the open, lying on the ground, so I check to see who it is. She has a notification from Bumble on her lock screen. Luckily, I still remember her password. It's her birthday, as is the password on most women's iPhones. I open the Bumble app and read a message from some dude named Gustavo. He wants to see her again this weekend. I lock the phone and put it down. When she comes out from her shower wearing only a towel, she asks me what's wrong. Fuck, I give myself away so damn easily sometimes. Nothing, I say. I'm fine. What are you talking about? Nick, we just had the most fun date I've ever been on, and some of the wildest sex of my life. You can tell me if something's bothering you. Alright, you're right. I didn't mean to, but, when you were in the bathroom, your phone lit up, and I couldn't help notice that some guy texted you on Bumble. Nat smiles and says, I get why that would bother you. You don't have anything to worry about, though. I hadn't gotten around to deleting it because I wasn't sure how this would go. I'll do it right now. She unlocks her phone and uninstalls Bumble. Besides, that dude's an asshole. He probably just wants to hook up. I let that sit for a second. Should I ask it? Have you been with anyone since we broke up? I don't really want to talk about it, but yeah, just him. Have you? I'm definitely not going to come clean about cheating now, and there's also no shot in hell I'm telling her about Craigslist. So I might as well come clean with what I can, right? Yeah, 2 girls, but they didn't mean anything. That feels weird, doesn't it? Knowing we were with other people? Yeah, a little, yeah. But at least we're being honest about it. You're right, she says, and falls back into bed and into my arms. I love you so much. I love you too, Nat. God, it feels good to be together again. A few minutes go by. I look over at her sleeping. I toss and turn in bed, restless. I can see the outline of the blades on my ceiling fan, taunting me still, with their dusty fucking sides and tops. This time I get up to do something about it. As quietly as I can, I wet a hand towel in the bathroom and wipe the blades down. Then I float back into my spot in bed and close my eyes, relieved. Day 221. Frank's not happy when I tell him about Nat. Claims he's worried about me making a mistake. Old man's just jealous. He's taking his shit out on me, but he's still paying, so I let him. I accept everything he tells me and apologize after, claiming ignorance. He's not having it. Now he's asking me personal questions that I've ignored before. Where do I live? What's my job? Who do I live with? Any information I give him can only be used against me, regardless of what lies he tells me. I'm at least that smart not to expose my true identity to him. I'm in California somewhere, I lie. Do you want me to take my shirt off? Frank laughs at me and says, yeah, if not, what else am I paying you for? I play along and start to strip for him. Would Nat be okay with this? I ask myself. Is there any way she would understand? I'm making a lot of money off of this dude, so maybe I can persuade her and offer a life of luxury. Although I could also play the victim and tell her it's been hard finding enough income elsewhere. Convince her that despite my 2 jobs I continue to look for more. Somehow get her to see the risk-reward in me continuing to talk to Frank. After all, there aren't any feelings involved. It's not like I'm cheating on her. If that's the case, maybe there's not a need to tell Nat. It's just a job, right? Besides, What she really deserves to know is that I was unfaithful, and I'm not going to do that anytime soon. Why pretend I'm some saint by coming clean about this, then? One lie on top of another doesn't worsen my guilt. It just means that there's an extra reminder of it. I can handle it. We hit the hour mark, and Frank asks me to stay longer. I don't know if I should trust that he'll send the money when the call's over, or ask him to do it now, but I need to feel somewhat in control. Can you send more money? He scoffs and takes his glasses off, sighs. Before he's said another word, I hear click, click, clicking, and a minute later I get a notification from PayPal. I just made $500 in one day. Holy fucking shit. Come on then, I'm done talking. Take off the rest of your clothes and start jerking it. Yes, sir. What should I do next? I'm always going to reply to his messages, even if they're orders like the last one. It buys me time. It means 10 seconds less of doing what he wants me to do. He waits for me to take off my clothes to give his next instruction. Do you have any sports clothes? Put a sport outfit on for me, boy. I walk to the closet, naked, showing off my ass as I do. I pick out my old soccer uniform from college and show it to the camera. Yeah, that's perfect. Leave the shirt off and play with your nipples while you rub your cock. My cock gets hard, but I don't want to come because Nat's supposed to be here in an hour and she'll definitely want to fuck first thing when she does. I can't tell that to Frank, though, so I try to delay it, rubbing up and down slowly. Frank's not even touching himself. In fact, when I look back at the computer, Frank's not there anymore. Through one of his windows, I can see birds flying, hear them chirping. His image isn't frozen. He's just left me here like I'm part of the discard pile. Then his fat, bald head returns to the screen. Sorry, I had to get another drink. That's okay. What are you drinking? I don't think I've ever asked you that before. You haven't. Rum and Coke. Go back to what you were doing. As I return to bed and start touching myself again, I notice he's hopping back and forth from Skype to his email to a bunch of other websites. I worry what that might mean about our agreement, if maybe he's sick of me because of all the lies, or if this is just his version of a power move, wanting to put his boy in a corner. I guess I'll find out sooner or later. For now, thinking about the $500 sitting in my PayPal is enough to get me through the session. What sucks is that I do end up coming, so now that means I have to lie to Nat about why we can't have sex right away. Or maybe I'm underestimating my youth and fucking her isn't out of the realm of possibility. It could just be my guilt manifesting itself in other ways, like, if I don't fuck her right after doing this thing that she doesn't know about, I'm not being as wretched of a human being as I would be if I did. Day 226. Vegas, baby. I'm taking my first steps in the McCarran International Airport thinking about how life-changing this trip will be. It's been a long time coming and somehow I've managed to put it deep in the back of my mind until now. The only times I thought about it were when I would correspond with my best friend from high school, Juan, who should be arriving soon. I guess worrying so goddamn much left no space for excitement or things to look forward to. But fuck all this non-stop worrying and lying and then worrying about the lying. I've finally made it. And it feels like yesterday that I was 14 and fantasizing about 7 years into the future when I'd be old enough to play in the World Series. Now I'm here. My flight's early. The tournament won't start for another 6 hours, and nothing can stop me from sitting down at an official table to play some goddamn poker. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash prizes, if not millions. I've beat out fields of 2,700, 10,000, and 50,000 before. There's no reason I can't do the same this weekend. Also, Juan being here makes it so that even if we both lose, it'll still be a hell of a trip and a hell of a story. He and I go back to grade school, and even though he's not actually playing with me, he's been talking up how important this tournament is. This is the first year the World Series has organized an event with a buy-in of $365. That means I'll be playing in the largest ever field for a World Series tournament. I'm so fucking excited. This is my golden opportunity to become 100% financially independent and say fuck it to all of the problems in my life. That adrenaline I get when I meet with men from Craigslist, I feel it now too. There's unpredictability to this weekend. My life could change completely, but I could also stay exactly the same. I don't want to think about the latter though, because right now I need to focus and make sure I pull myself out of 8 Mile like all of my role models. Waiting for Juan outside of immigration as I scroll through my phone, I'm flooded with memories from our friendship. I remember his trip to Austin last August and how easy it was for me to bail on drinks with him and my brother to go on my first date with Nat. I remember walking down 6th Street, talking about years ago when he'd go on late-night walks on the beach to the nudist hotel, Desire, a mile away from my house. His excuse was always that he needed to clear his head. Sometimes I would walk with him, hoping I could also rid myself of negative thoughts, or find answers to questions I didn't quite understand, like why was my girlfriend texting me from a nightclub, saying how all of her girlfriends were making out with guys and how she was having to cover her mouth to avoid getting kissed. And why the fuck was I with someone who thought that was an okay thing to do? We were both so goddamn dependent on our girlfriends, but in a way that brought us closer. When we weren't spending time with the girls, we almost always spent time with each other. If we chose his house, we would invite a couple of his neighbors to play 6-hour FIFA tournaments and pay the winner 100 pesos each. If we hung out at my place, we would kayak during the day, regardless of the weather conditions. One time we went out while it was storming with the sole intention of finding the biggest wave we could and getting the kayak to flip us over and dunk our heads underwater. It was fun and exciting having to pretend like we were barely surviving. At night we would play video games or watch movies. Once, while I was finishing up eating, Juan dangled his dinner plate on one hand and threw it up in the air, only to catch it right before it hit the marble floor. He loved fucking with people in small ways like that, trying to one-up you all the time. "Stop," I told him through laughs. "No, actually, keep going. You can be the one that tells my dad you broke his plate." "Oh yeah, bitch? You want to play dirty?" he said as he flung the plate in the air one more time. This time he didn't catch it. It shattered into hundreds of ceramic bits and pieces, big ones and small ones. I laughed so hard I almost choked on my food. Tears started to burn in my eyes. Juan showed panic in his eyes for a split second and then tried to get me to stop laughing. Still laughing, I said, "Go clean it up, bitch." When he came back with a broom, I pulled out my phone and recorded him as he cleaned and danced to the background music that played on TV. He thrived whenever he got attention for doing something funny, especially if it was recorded. I used to have hundreds of videos of him doing crazy shit on camera, all for laughs. He once put his bare ass on a kid's cheek during class, and though my feats were rarely caught on camera, I thought and acted similarly to him. Everything I did was to make my friends laugh, even if it was at the expense of others. When I was in 4th grade, I would line up against a wall as my friends gathered around me. Then I would jump and fold my legs in midair so that when I landed on the concrete, my knees took all the damage. It hurt like a motherfucker, but for some reason it was hilarious to my friends, so I kept doing it and kept trying to ramp up the stunts. It was around that same time that I met Juan. Now it's over 10 years later and Juan's coming out from a door far down the hall in which I'm sitting. He's smiling, almost laughing, and so am I. We haven't seen each other since his trip last August. Seeing him, hugging him, laughing with him, I feel sane again. I can finally take off the mask and be myself without having to worry about what others will say. I don't have to think too hard to be around him. He's jovial like no one else in my life. "Come here, man," I say, and give him another hug. "I miss you so much." Mexican men are uncomfortable being physical with other men, but even when I feel Juan wants to end the hug, I cling to him with all I've got. I don't want this moment to end. "I miss you too, bro," he finally says. As we walk to the parking lot where our shared ride awaits, he stops me and says, "I have a surprise for you." "Oh yeah?" I think he's about to pull out my favorite chips from his carry-on because they don't make them in the US and he knows how crazy they make me. But instead he puts his hand on my shoulder, pats it a couple of times, and says, "I'm going to play in the tournament with you." "No way." "Yes way." "Dude, are you serious? How'd you swing that?" 100%. My boss knew how important this thing was, so he sponsored half my buy-in. "Wow. Don't ever quit that job." "He's great. He told me to tell you he really liked your book." "That's crazy that he read my book. He doesn't even know me." He said it's a little more intense than what he's used to reading, but he only had good things to say about it. Our ride drops us off at the Gold Coast Hotel next to the Rio. The sun beats down at over 100 degrees. We break a sweat in the 30 seconds it takes us to go from car to hotel lobby. We check into our room and go leave our bags in it. I give Juan a paperback copy of my book. It's been out for a year, but the paperback is brand new. "You forgot to sign it." "Really, dude?" "Yes, really. Do you know how much this will be worth in 10 years? I laugh and say something dumb like, "Oh, please." We return to the lobby and decide that we're hungry. The hostess at TGI Fridays stands by the bar flirting with one of the bartenders. She doesn't notice us in the first minute we're in there, so we just stroll in and pick our own table. We even grab our menu from our hostess stand. I can't stand people who just wait around because they're afraid of getting in trouble. Juan orders shrimp and I order steak. He asks me questions about my book and about Nat. Small talk between best friends. I tell him half-truths about why I got back together with her, and half-truths about the book I'm writing now. I talk up Sabrina and Mabel like they weren't reminders of how sad I am inside, and leave out all the parts about sucking cock and getting paid for it. Sometimes when I'm talking to people I trust, and we're having deep, meaningful conversations, I feel guilty that I've not shared this side of me with them. Other times I realize that my sex life isn't something I have to share, except this isn't only sex we're talking about. So staring into Juan's eyes, him staring back into mine, I feel as though I'm moving through the world in a fugue state. Tell me about your life, though, I say. Mine's boring. Tell me about Alana, that political group you joined, all of it. Juan chews through conversation like a monkey does bananas. I can smell the shrimp in his breath from across the table. He tells me about some small fights he and Alana have gotten into, and how they argue about the same things over and over, usually politics. He talks, and now and then I'll say, yeah, or right, or ask another question. I see his mouth moving and know I'm supposed to be hearing words and sentences and ideas from it, but all I can think about is making sure I win this fucking tournament. If I do that, I will have proven myself to everybody in at least one way, and all of my self-doubt and guilt will vanish like the idea of a mother did when I turned 13. Never have I been so sure about anything in my life. I'm so goddamn sick of focusing on bettering my life and replacing old habits with good ones. I want to think about Texas Hold'em and all the legends that have played in the World Series. I want to remember what it was like being a small boy with big dreams instead of some jaded fucking asshole that's given up on life. Except that I haven't given up, or else I wouldn't be here. That's what this trip is all about. It's like I've been offered an opportunity to be a novelist for the rest of my life, and all I need to do now is prove that I can write. Besides, just because I can't talk to people about my shit yet doesn't mean I'm not working on it. I'm writing it all down and processing it that way. I'm just calling it fiction. Nobody really understands what goes into writing a book unless they've written one themselves, and even then I'm not so sure. It's why I don't bother explaining my process to anyone. Bukowski said it best. People that talk about writing are assholes. I feel that way now more than ever. It's just too big of a leap for people to make. It's not like making a movie or writing a song where they can identify different jobs within that industry, like all the set designers and decorators and such. When you think of a writer, that's all you think about. Good writing can be learned, but great writing has to come from exposed suffering. I learned that from reading some of the worst fucking stories of my life in high school and college. Students tried to be too clever, or were just downright lazy. Either way, the results were a bunch of disjointed, uninteresting, emotionally detached pages of garbage. When you practice the art of not giving a fuck and write about what you really want to write about without worrying if it's literary enough or up to some pretentious fucking critic's standard, you might learn a thing or two about yourself and pass that on to your readers. I want to start that conversation with Juan right now, but can't. He wouldn't understand. He'd be so caught off guard by the fact that his best friend isn't afraid of cock like he is to actually listen. And everyone in my life is the same way. The Amazon is the biggest of all the conference rooms at the Rio. I know so many poker players from watching them on the internet that being here for the World Series feels like a game of Where's Waldo. John Juanda, Chris Ferguson, Chris Moneymaker, Antonio Esfandiari, Daniel Negreanu. These were my best friends growing up. They gave my life meaning before I knew that was something I needed. In the bathroom, I pee in the urinal next to Johnny Chan and think of the quintessential poker scene from the movie Rounders when Matt Damon bluffs him out of a hand. "Did you have it?" Johnny asks. "I'm sorry, John," Damon says. "I don't remember." I get goosebumps thinking of that with Johnny fucking Chan standing next to me. I'm out of my element, yet it feels like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. When I exit back into the halls, I tell Juan about it. Then we cram a bunch of poker strategy last minute. He hasn't played in almost twice as long as I have, so I feel I owe it to him to help as best I can. "Remind me one thing," he says. "When am I first to act if I'm small blind?" I give him a serious look and say, "I'm sorry, Juan." I pat him on the back. "I don't remember." We laugh together. "You're first to act every round after the first. That's all I need to know." Before splitting up to find our seats in the Amazon room, Juan hugs me one last time and says, "I'll see you at the final table." My body gets cold as I walk to my seat and introduce myself to the few people that aren't wearing earphones. I hand the dealer my ticket and he gives me 25,000 in chips. Instinctively, my fingers start to shuffle 2 stacks of 7 chips each. It helps keep my nerves busy. Everyone at the table looks at least 10 years older than me, except for one old fuck who's so old he's probably only here to cross it off his bucket list. Play begins. I'm dealt pocket 10s. I lose 1,000 chips. The next 10 hands I fold. No one is talking at the table, so I put on my earphones and listen to a rap playlist I've created just for this tournament. I win a couple of small pots and build my stack to 30,000. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I make the mistake of answering Nat's text and then put it on silent, but now she's in my head. Thousands of miles away, she still makes up most of my thoughts. I wonder what she's up to in Sayulita, if she's dancing with strange Mexican men, flirting, being unfaithful. That's what happens when you cheat. You start to get suspicious of your partner much more than you used to, which, if you're anything like me, was already a lot. For 30 minutes I go on autopilot, folding anything that's not a premium hand, waiting for my chance to double up or win a big pot. Thing is, people aren't here to fuck around. Good poker players can spot this behavior miles away and start to put pressure on you, even when you do have a good hand. So by the time I enter a pot with pocket queens, everyone folds and I scoop up only blinds. Now, because I've been half in the game and half in my phone, I don't know who's playing how or where to direct my efforts, but that old fuck is still here, slowing down the game. It's so hard not to check my phone when every hand takes him 2 minutes to decide. Am I the only one bothered by this? I call the clock on him. He's got 30 seconds to act but looks unfazed. I call the clock again the very next hand, and the one after that. I want him to think that he's getting to me, even though I shouldn't give that away, because he actually is getting to me. Juan taps my shoulder. I get up to talk to him away from the table. This fucking guy in the yellow shirt keeps taking like 2 minutes to act every hand. How are you doing? Not good, but I'm hanging in there. About 20 behind. That's not bad at all. I'm down to 15. He goes back to his table before they burn his hand. As we near the end of the first hour, I'm dealt ace king of hearts. I raise. 2 minutes later, the old man re-raises. I've had it with him. I don't even care about the tournament. It's become a personal matter. The ace and king of hearts together look unbeatable when you first get them dealt. The longer you stare, the more powerful they become, luring you in with red and royalty. The letter A next to the letter K reminds me of an AK-47, more power in the imagery. I'm all in, I say. This time he snap calls and turns over ace-queen of diamonds like he's proud to be all in with that hand. I slap my card's face up on the felt and revel in the fact that I'm more than 3/4 of the way to doubling up and busting his ass. I even scoff at his hand so he knows how fucking stupid it was to call me. The flop comes 8-queen-3 rainbow. My stomach drops and something gets caught in my throat. I've stopped breathing. The turn comes 2. The old man starts clapping his hands, celebrating before it's over. I want to throw my chips in his face and spit on his wife, who keeps coming back to the table with his soda and crackers and his dumb fucking wheelchair. The river comes 10 and the hand ends. The dealer pushes all of my chips toward the old man's side of the table. Good game, one guy says. Good game, another guy says, and knocks twice on the table. Good game, says the old man. I hear those 2 words 8 times before wishing the table good luck and doing the walk of shame. Everyone must have expected me to be first out, being so young and all. It pisses me off to think of my table bad-mouthing me after I leave, saying shit like, "Boy was a loose cannon, wasn't he?" and laughing together. My life is over. All of my hopes and dreams were dragged along with my chips and put in the hands of someone who should have already died. Whatever happened to passing the baton? That old fucking shit. He knew what the fuck he was doing. There's no way he didn't, pretending to be senile and needling me with every fucking second that he stalled. I want to pick up a chair and smash it against a wall. I want to cry. When will it be my time? On my way out of the play section, I avoid walking by Juan's table. I don't want him to know that I only lasted an hour. I don't want anyone to know. If I could pay another $365 to keep playing, I would. Maybe I can find a cash game and make my money back, or another tournament. I look at the rest of the schedule for the World Series, hoping to find another small buy-in tournament, but the smallest one left is for $1,000, and I just don't have that kind of cash right now. I could message Frank and explain the situation to him, cross my fingers and hope he'll understand and send the money my way if I promise to put a finger in my ass, or something crazy like that. I'm sure I can think of something to entice him. Maybe meeting up in person. At this stage, I don't care what I have to do. All I want is to keep playing. I want another opportunity to prove myself. Going home empty-handed like this makes me want to look for danger in the most sexual ways. It makes me feel like I don't deserve to be happy or successful, so I might as well become the world's most submissive little slut. At least then I'll make others happy. I find Chris Moneymaker sitting at a table with a jacket full of sponsors and his classic Blue Shark Optics reflector glasses. If you don't know who he is, let me quickly explain. Chris is a main event champion. Of the near 70 events the World Series hosts every year, the main event is the most coveted one. In 2003, he won an $86 satellite tournament that prized him a $10,000 entry to the main event. Nobody knew this chubster from Nashville, Tennessee back then, but he ended up taking home the first place prize of $2.5 million, beating out a field of 839 entrants. Not just that, he fought through one of the toughest Final 27 in main event history that consisted of two of the best players of all time, Phil Ivey and Phil Hellmuth. It was unprecedented. It revolutionized the game of poker. The next year, 2,576 players bought into the main event, over 3 times the size of the previous year, so spotting him in the Amazon room is a huge deal for me. He doesn't look like the kind of person that wants to sign your t-shirt, but neither does any other poker player. I watch him play for 10 minutes before he takes off his glasses, stretches his arms, and stands up. He grabs his bag and walks away from the table. I follow him out into the hall and watch him make a phone call next to a drinking fountain. There are no cameras following him, no fans bothering him. Chris Moneymaker looks like any other middle-aged man from Nashville, except sadder. This is my first exposure to what being a professional poker player is like behind the curtains. The man looks just as bummed as I do. When he finishes his call, he takes a deep breath and sighs. Then he walks down the hall among hundreds of other poker players whose dreams didn't come true tonight. My phone rings. It's Nat. I tell her that I lost. She tells me it's okay. She asks how I'm feeling. Whatever. It's just a game, I lie. I'm glad I got to see what it was like. Dream come true, you know? We talk about her trip and what it's been like spending time with her sister and her boyfriend. The owner of the Airbnb she's staying at is bilingual and has a cat. It's hard not to be jealous when I feel so deflated. So when she finishes her thought, I tell her I have to go. We hang up. I find Juan's table and get his attention. Then I slide my hand horizontally across the front of my neck so he knows that I've lost. His lips press together and he does a slow blink. He wishes I was still in it with him. But all that's left for me to do tonight is cheer him on and be supportive. Every now and then he'll run over to me and ask for tips, but there's only so much I can do. Instead of trying to tell him how to play, I build up his confidence so he'll be fearless. He doubles up and becomes chip leader of his table. A huge surge of energy runs through his face. Still, the blinds continue to increase at suffocating speed. Just before the break, before the money, maybe 10 or 20 spots from making his entry back and more, he moves all in and loses the hand. I give him a hug and tell him to cheer up. We still have 2 more nights in Vegas. We're only getting started. It's the middle of the day and we're walking down Flamingo Road headed for Lotus of Siam, a Thai restaurant recommended to me by Dusty and Malai. Yesterday's loss is behind us. The desert is dry and on fire at over 110 degrees. Juan and I go back and forth taking sips from a blue Gatorade. We asked the cashier at the convenience store if he sold weed because they had a sign that said smoke shop on their window. He said he didn't but gave us the name of 2 dispensaries that do, so we agreed to go there after lunch. The restaurant is opening when we arrive and thus has no wait. We sit at a table for 2 next to a wall racked with wine bottles. Oh fuck yeah, they have Thai iced tea. Juan studies the prices on the menu. He orders egg rolls and pineapple fried rice. I get fried wontons and roasted duck curry. Somewhere in between gulping down Thai tea and laughing together, sex comes up as a topic of conversation. More specifically, Juan's sexual relationship with his girlfriend Alana. I feel like I have to beg her to have sex with me, he says. Like, if I don't initiate, she never will. Is it because of the recent fighting? It's been going on for way longer than that, like months, dude. So how does it come up? Have you not talked about it with her? Oh, we've talked about it. I tell her all the time, Alana, what's wrong with you? You never want to have sex anymore. But it's almost like she doesn't want to talk about it. Our waiter swings by and sets down my second tea. Have you thought about approaching it differently? No, you don't understand, man. We've tried talking about it so many times. Yeah, I know. And obviously I'm not going to pretend that I know her better than you do, because I don't. I'm just curious if maybe a different approach would help. Like what? What kind of approach? Let's hear it. I'll give you an example. Nat and I went through a weird phase in our sex life where neither one of us was really present during it, you know? I was in my head, worried about making her come, and she was waiting to get mad at me for not making her come. It psyched me out every fucking time. It was all I could think about. So one day I sat down with her and told her how I was feeling. I said, I know our sex has felt off recently, and a lot of that is my fault. It's easy for me to have an orgasm, but a lot of my enjoyment comes from pleasing you, and I feel I haven't been the best at that lately. Is there anything I could be doing differently that would make you feel more comfortable? Or anything I'm currently doing that isn't working for you? Juan nods his head and says, interesting. Go on. That's pretty much it, but my point is she didn't feel under attack because of how I brought it up. Even though I was frustrated as hell that this was happening, I knew letting that frustration color our communication wouldn't help. I guess what I'm saying is that maybe Alana feels a little defensive when you call her out like that. A better approach might be to tell her how you feel, without accusing her, and then ask her how she feels, or if there's anything you can do to help. I don't know. No, that's genius, because you're right. I've been so angry about not having sex regularly that I've probably been more aggressive than I realize. And I'm sure that only makes her more turned off at the idea of sex. Why would she want to do something that can anger her partner? She's associating fighting with sex. You're absolutely right. Damn. I'm happy Juan and I can talk about this kind of stuff. And what better place to do it than this restaurant in the middle of the desert? We split the check and continue talking about his relationship with Alana as we call an Uber. Sweat manifests itself on our bodies the second we step outside of the restaurant. A woman with orange hair picks us up in an orange Lexus. Her loud Cuban accent interrupts our conversation. Thank God it's a short drive to the dispensary. Being inside a dispensary feels like traveling years into the future or years into the past, depending on your luck. The first one we try has like 5 lobbies that seem to replicate the spaceship in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Not just the interior, but the vibe too. When we get to the vendor area, they're all out of edibles. The second one looks like a chocolate shop in a small French town circa 1950. Kind of like that Johnny Depp movie, Chocolat or whatever. There's a bouncer on the street entry bigger than any bouncer I ever saw at a nightclub. Seriously, this guy can probably take more bullets than RoboCop and still keep you from breaking in. We reach the lobby and get in a line that leads to a closed door only one group can access at a time. There are 3 sofa chairs in the corner closest to the street, 2 doors with fingerprint access only, a hall I assume is for bathrooms, and a lobby desk with no one guarding it. The walls are decorated with diagrams of different marijuana leaves and their scientific names. Juan leaves me in line to put $1 in a machine that dispenses stickers. No sticker slides out. He looks at me like, "Hey man, you live in this country, what the fuck?" And I just laugh. When we get to the front of the line, I notice a framed map of the U.S. on the wall. States where marijuana is legal are colored in green. Above the map it says, Mediganja, now available in 16 states. Below that reads, good for arthritis, asthma, back pain, epilepsy, glaucoma, herpes, migraines, multiple sclerosis, nausea, PMS, rheumatism, stress and tumors. The door opens as 3 old ladies walk out. We enter and get in another line over checkered tiles. The display counters make an L shape around the line. On the wall behind the cashiers are 6 TVs. 2 of them show the name of the place, Relief. The other 4 list flowers, cartridges, chocolate bars, and edibles. It's all so damn organized it makes my OCD get a hard-on. Peanut butter crunch, Juan says. That sounds good. Oh, I'm so excited for this. A cashier lifts his hand up and says, "Open right here." "We're looking at the peanut butter crunch," I tell him. "We don't know all the amounts and all that, though. Can you guide us?" "Yeah," he laughs. "So, with that peanut butter crunch, you get a bar with 10 blocks. If you're not smoking regularly, I'd recommend starting out with 1 block. 30 minutes later, if you don't feel anything, take another one, and on and on. A lot of people take one, then another one 5 minutes later because nothing happened. The key to having a good experience is pacing. We'll take 2 of those," Juan says. Juan mocks the cashier when we exit the building. "Take 1 block every 30 minutes. I don't smoke regularly, but I'm still going to take 2 blocks, bitch." When it comes to weed, I have little experience. Compared to Juan, however, I may as well be Seth Rogen, so I can't let him get ahead of me. We both eat 2 blocks and put the rest away. Then back at the hotel room, Juan keeps making fun of the cashier and pacing around the room. I turn the TV on and laugh at his monologue. "Oh, you think I'm funny, Mr. Gomez? Let me show you funny, you anus licker." He dives onto the bed and starts wrestling against me. We go for so long that our faces turn red and the bed softens. It ends when I flip him on his stomach and press down with my chest. Okay, he cries out. "Promise you'll stop." I'll stop. "And if you don't, you'll eat all 16 of the blocks we have left." Yeah, you fucking patrol hole." I let him go. "I'm gonna fucking shower and take a massive shit so you can smell my anus from the bed, Mr. Gomez." He locks himself in the bathroom before I can stop him. When I get in bed again, I notice his peanut butter crunch is missing. "Are you eating more of that chocolate?" I yell out. "Oh my god, who's gonna stop me now, bitch tits?" "How many did you take so I can match you?" "I'm gonna take fucking 2 more because Mr. Cashier thinks I'm a pussy." I laugh because when you're in the presence of Juan's act, you just have to laugh. It gets so contagious I start to play along. "Oh my lord," I say, "I'm gonna eat an extra one because your Mexican ass can't handle my gringo fucking power." By the time we leave the room, we've both had 8 blocks apiece. Juan does a cartwheel in the hall on our way to the elevator. Hunger leads us to the subway in our hotel lobby. I order a meatball sub and add chicken and beef to it. Juan tells me I'm crazy as he laughs along with the cashier. Now that we're in public, we tone down our vocabulary. It becomes sneakier but dumber, like when police walk by us, Juan puts his peanut butter crunch on the table and says, "Nothing to see here, just a regular Mexican with his regular chocolate." God, I miss being around friends like him. After Subway, we walk over to the Rio and sit at a bar. Every seat has a screen with different slot games on it. It's just me and Juan and a woman who looks like she's been glued to her screen for hours. Juan orders a beer. I order a beer. Coors Light, Juan says. Oh, what's that, Peter? You want a Coors Light? You guys are a breath of fresh air, says one of the bartenders. Where are you from? Juan takes the lead. Well, we're both Mexicans, but my friend Nitro here thinks he's full American. What brings you to Vegas? It's the World fucking Series, man. When are you playing? We fucking lost already, man. What event was it? The fucking Giant, man. The lady next to me slaps her hand on my forearm. Ouch, what the hell? Ah! She yells. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Her screen starts to make louder noises than she does. I won! I won! I fucking won! Oh my god! All three bartenders crowd around her like leeches. Two passers-by grab a seat to her right and order beers. I just won $5,000! I'm rich! She rings for assistance and a floor manager shows up. He's carrying a small box which he unlocks and starts to count out $100 bills from. When he counts out the last one, the lady says, No, you keep that one. That means she's now won $4,900, not $5,000. Hey, congratulations, lady, the guy to her immediate right says. It's not every day someone wins that amount of money from slots. Bartender, she says, let's buy a round of shots for everyone at the bar, including these two young men over here. She points to us. Tequila, please. Hell, we'll celebrate with you, one of the bartenders says. They serve 8 shots total and each drink one as we all cheers to this woman's victory. And here's your tip, she says, hands them each $100. That means she's now won $4,600, not $4,900. The check arrives for $200. She leaves $300, even though she just tipped them. That means she's now won $4,300, not $4,600. So really this victory turned into a $700 loss, and all I can think of is how differently I would have done things. I wouldn't have known to tip the floor manager. I wouldn't have celebrated with anyone but Juan, and definitely not with tequila shots, so I'd be walking away with $5,000 cash. It hurts watching her waste that much of her profit that quickly, and it sucks to see the staff at this hotel taking advantage of her like that. I have to go to the bathroom, I tell Juan. Do you want to get out of here? Standing up helps me realize how fast the tequila made its way to my brain, or maybe the edibles are still kicking in. I'm not sure. All I know is that I have a sudden urge to vomit. On our way into the bathrooms, I say, whoever finishes first just waits outside for the other, okay? Juan nods his head and finds a urinal. I go inside a toilet stall. The vomit doesn't come right away. It lingers in my stomach, feels like a bowling ball anchoring me to the floor. I don't even care if people can see my feet sticking out of the stall, but when it does come, it fucking rocks me like the worst hangover I ever had. My throat feels like it's on fire, and the vomit leaves an aftertaste of tequila in my mouth that calls for more vomiting, more clutching at my stomach, as I sit with my face against this foreign toilet seat that's probably had more dick and balls rubbed on it than I have. I throw up one more time and then clean my face with toilet paper. I'm almost overcome with shame when exiting the stall until I realize the room is empty. I wash my hands thoroughly and drink some tap water, and of course, when I exit the bathroom, Juan is nowhere to be found. I check my phone. No missed calls or messages. I text him, but the text won't go through. He must have turned off his phone. 10 minutes pass and nothing changes. I guess that means I should look for him elsewhere. My feet guide me because my brain's cross-faded. Somehow I wind up sitting at an empty poker table in one of the main halls. I look at the people walking by and play a little game of Where's Waldo. I text a friend back home just to keep from falling asleep. It's almost an hour after we got up from the bar that Juan finally calls. Oh my god, he starts off running. I am patrolling the E-bar right now. You hear me, Nicholas? I said I am patrolling the E-bar. Dude, what? Where are you? You don't fucking believe me. I said I am patrolling the E-bar, my friend. It's a fucking circle, and I'm patrolling it. I get up and walk to where I think he's talking about. There's a bar in the shape of a rotunda with signs all around it that say I-bar. I see a place called I-bar. Do you mean I-bar? Oh, you think I'm stupid, man? I don't know what the fuck this shit about I-bar. I spot him across the rotunda, pacing between waves and waves of people, gesturing with his free arm every time he speaks. I'm patrolling the fucking E-bar right now. There's no I-bar, you gringo fuck. Stay where you are. I think I see you. I'm not going anywhere, you shit. It's my job to patrol the E-bar. His expression shows relief when I find him. We hug and then lose our minds laughing. I'm patrolling the fucking E-bar, I say. My name's Juan and I can't tell the difference between an E and an I. Fucking A, man. Let's get the fuck out of this place. We get in a shuttle headed for the Strip. Juan takes the window seat and passes out cold against the glass with his mouth agape. When the shuttle stops, I wake him up. He can barely move, so we wait for everyone else to exit first. Funny Juan is buried under layers and layers of THC, but he still cracks me up with a single glance. He stops every 5 seconds to rest his arms on his legs, all slouched over like he just did a mile-long sprint. People walk past us and stare. "You sure you're still up for this?" I ask. "We don't have to go if you're this tired." "Oh my god, you think I'm going to fucking ruin this shit? We're patrolling the streets of Las Vegas, and nobody can stop us." We stop at the Bellagio's fountains. There's a show starting right as we get there. The fountains dance to Frank Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon. Michael Jackson's Billie Jean plays next. "Make a video of me dancing to this," Juan says. I laugh non-stop as I record a minute and a half of Juan quasi-dancing with the fountains behind him. It's the first time all night I'm noticing the Star Wars Episode 4 poster on his shirt. Holy shit, man, that was intense. That was funny is what that was. We stand against the railing as some people walk away and new people show up for the show starting a half hour from now. Juan reaches in his pocket and looks at me, shocked. "Guess who came early to Vegas, bitch?" "Who?" He pulls out the last 2 blocks of his chocolate bar and says, "Willy fucking Wonka!" Then he puts them in his mouth and starts chewing. I do the same with mine. "I've been thinking about something," I say. "Hear me out, though, 'cause I'm pretty fucking stoned right now." "Just stop patrolling and say it." I was trying to picture myself living here, and I realized how much of a nightmare that would be. All this place is a bunch of tourists and rich people spending money, and that got me thinking that it's not so different from Cancun. Instead of fishing, the locals here gamble, but everyone else does the exact same thing in both places: party, play, and purchase. It's like a refrigerator, man. As soon as the shit gets unplugged, everything's going to rot. You shouldn't be able to live in the fucking desert during the summer for more than a couple days. But they built these fucking refrigerators for people to live in. One day it's gonna fall apart. Yeah, and maybe one day Cancun will be underwater. We laugh at that. Imagine if Miss Velasquez was lecturing about Pancho Villa when that happened. Kids, this is going to be on the test. If you leave now, you're guaranteed a failing grade." And the 2 nerdiest kids are the only ones that listen to her. Fucking Peter and Laura. We laugh again. "I love you, man." "I love you too. I wish we lived in the same city." "One day," he says, "I'll become a gringo-ass like you." I hope so. I really, really do. We stumble through the halls inside Planet Hollywood, disoriented. I buy cinnamon pretzel bites at Auntie Anne's. We walk for 5 minutes. I buy 2 glazed donuts at Krispy Kreme. We sit at a table and rest our heads in our arms, eyes drifting. McDonald's greets us as we miracle our way out of the maze. I buy fries and a milkshake. Juan buys a fried chicken burger and a soda. It's 2 a.m. "Can I be honest with you about something?" he says. "Of course, what's up?" "I'm worried that maybe I'm not smart enough to graduate from ITAM." I nod and take a sip from my milkshake. "It's been like 3 years, dude, and I'm not even halfway through. Maybe I'm just not cut out for that life." "Do you still look forward to your classes?" "Not like I used to. But then again, maybe it's Alana. It could be. Does it feel that way to you? We don't have fun anymore. We're always fighting. And if I'm not arguing with her, I'm arguing with my grandma, or studying for a fucking exam, or working and getting paid shit for my time. I do think it's not in your nature to be living the life you've set up for yourself. But that doesn't mean you're not smart enough to graduate, dude. You're one of the smartest guys I know." "You think so?" "I think you're experiencing stress in every area of your life. It makes sense that you feel this way. There's nothing wrong with being humbled every now and then. You probably need it more than most." "Oh my fucking lord, you're saying I'm a stupid man?" I laugh and take one long look at Juan. This is what my dreams were made of when I still lived with my parents. Being caught in moments like these, in the middle of nowhere, spending quality time with people I care about. Juan is my best friend. I truly believe that now. He took me in when I flew to Mexico City. A year later, he visited me in Austin. And in order to meet me here this weekend and help me fulfill one of my childhood dreams, he took out loans he shouldn't have. I want so badly to tell him the truth about where I am in my life, share with him all the things I've done, but there's just no way he'd understand. So I sit there laughing at his jokes and listening to his struggles, all the while thinking that I love him, that maybe friends are all I need right now. Day 231. The financial clock ticks fast. I underestimated how much money Vegas would cost, so I'm trying to get Frank online as often as I can, while also trying to keep it a secret from Nat. I quit the office job this morning. I told the owner that life was getting in the way, and he told me he understood. The truth is that $100 a month is no longer worth the time I put in. I need to dedicate that to finding a new job, one that can help me off of Frank's leash. My plan is to squeeze as much out of him as I can in the meantime, so I can be set for a while when he decides to cut me off. He's been angrier when we talk, impatient. All he wants is for me to get naked and do the things he tells me to do. He's catching on to my strategy, but playing the victim couldn't be easier. I'm so removed from whatever he thinks this is that fucking with him isn't a problem for me. Like, mentally, I'm doing shit I didn't even know that I could, telling him how much I missed him, guilting him into having more of a conversation and less of a sex chat, claiming that all he wants me for now is my body. And it works. Yesterday we talked for 2.5 hours. That's $750 untaxed dollars into my PayPal, 2 weeks worth of work. I figure with that I can buy a plane ticket to go home and bring Nat with me so she can meet my dad and my pet predator Misty. After work at the food truck, I come home and chat with Frank again. He has 30 minutes left in the time bank. I dread every second of it because it feels like I'm working for free with this rollover crap. He started texting me too. I guess he's too upset to continue using his voice. It almost feels like when two people are in a relationship they both know isn't working anymore, but one feels the need to still put out for the other. It's fucking sad and gross. Even at $250 an hour, it's hard to sit through. What helps is knowing that I'll see Ben tonight. He and I have become like each other's sponsors. It's weird. In a good way, though. He can't stay off the booze, and I have my own destructive behaviors. I told him about the cheating, so he's really the only person I can talk to about it. Later tonight I'll drink some of his beer and listen to him talk about Penny. It'll help me realize I'm not alone in my struggle, that everyone on the fucking planet has problems, all relative, even if they choose to ignore them like my dad. Well, no, he just opts for focusing on the external ones, like finances, construction, scuba diving, the incoming tropical storm or whatever, the holes in the road that lead to his beach home. I guess that's how everyone likes to move through the world. Ben reminds me that I'm not so different. Day 240. Training for my new job finished yesterday, so today's my first official day making tips at Blended. We sell smoothies and acai bowls, so really it's like I'm working at my old job again. The kicker is that our store is inside of a yoga studio, so all day I see beautiful, fit women walk in and out. I already have a crush on one of the receptionists, Maddie. I'm also the only dude working behind the counter, so when class gets out, all the yoga girls come up to order, even if they're not hungry. I guess stretching for an hour makes them want to talk to me more or something. Honestly, it's never what they expect, because I'm terrible at flirting with women. Most of them will ask me a question or two, and I'll just sort of answer it and get back to work as I'm nervous and don't know what to say next. Who knows? Maybe they find it cute and that's why they keep coming back. I wore one of my Hawaiian shirts today. It shows what little chest hair I have and makes me seem more laid back, I think. I get a lot of compliments from my coworkers, especially this one girl, Mia, who also writes. She's tall, freckled, and on the skinnier side. It's funny because anytime I start a new job, I always answer the same questions. Where are you from? What brought you to Austin? Where did you go to school? My story never changes, except with Mia I feel comfortable sharing details I normally wouldn't. I tell her about Mexico City and dropping out of college. I tell her that I drove to Austin with all of my belongings in the car and no job waiting for me. Then finally, when she asks what I like to do, what I like to write, I tell her about my old roommate who OD'd on heroin and what finding him dead was like. She's apologetic like everyone is when I tell them that story. I guess I'm supposed to be traumatized from that experience, but I'm just not. I think most people who think that's what you're supposed to go through only think that because of movies and TV shows. The truth is I didn't know Andy very well. We didn't get along well either. He was just some guy who I happened to be roommates with. I never knew he was doing heroin. That's how close we were. But still, I tell Mia that it's okay, that I appreciate her saying that. Then she starts talking about Mexico City and how obsessed she is with one day going there. She reads me some of her poems from her phone, ones she wrote in Spanish. I tell her I like the poems and ask dumb questions like, what's that one called? None of them have names. I get the sense that Mia might be flirting with me. When she reads her poems, she stands very close. She's not wearing a bra, and her yoga pants are tight. Maybe I'm just turned on watching her and it's not that she's flirting. Some customers come in and she stops reading to go take their order. Her body language is so damn sexual I can feel the two guys at the register get hard. Like me, she seems to embrace being desired. She's just much more of a natural in that role than I am. Between her and Maddie, I have plenty of fantasizing to go around. Anytime Maddie and I make eye contact across the room, I ruminate on the meaning of it. I so often have a hard time letting go of the idea that she likes me. If I was older, I'd probably be mature enough to realize she can find me attractive and not like me like I do her. This job will teach me how to accept eye candy for what it is. The only problem with being surrounded by all these incredible women is that it makes me feel like my standards should be higher, like even Nat isn't hot enough anymore. Only 1 out of every 20 or so isn't supermodel fit. The rest look like they squat 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their bodies are so tight. When they come out of the showers, their faces are red from the steaming hot water and their hair wet and slicked back. If it's slow, I play a game with myself. Try to imagine which ones are sex fiends and which ones are not. What are they like in bed? How do they like being fucked? Which ones like to touch themselves? And how many of those finger their pussy in the yoga studio's showers? Hiding my erection in the flexible waistband of my shorts is easy with this oversized shirt I'm wearing. If it was any slower, I'd consider going in the men's bathroom and rubbing one out. I need some kind of release, god damn it. Day 255. Nat and I bought tickets to go stay with my dad and my stepmom in Cancun. We leave next week. Having this to look forward to helps me forget that I'm just as unhappy with her now as I was before. The way we went back to exactly the way things were before those 2 months of separation is uncanny. We go to kickboxing class, come home and eat dinner, shower, have sex, watch TV until we fall asleep. We rarely have conversations, never meaningful ones. When we do, they're all about her bipolar and how stressed she is at work or school, or both. I feel like I'm taking care of someone who can't take care of herself. There's no room left for attraction. All of my energy is spent worrying about her, trying to figure out ways to help her. Sex used to be the only place I could turn to with her, and even that's god-awful now. Neither one of us is in it. She's so unsatisfied with me that the other night she asked if I would fuck her in the ass. No planning went into the act. I went to my bathroom and grabbed the only thing I could find that could serve as lubricant. I squeezed the bottle over her ass and rubbed it along her asshole, gently putting in a finger, then 2, then 1 again. Then, as if that was enough to warm her up, I slid my cock inside her. She screamed and her hands came around to my hips, held me back from thrusting again. Stop, she said. Go slower. I slid inside again and heard her scream like she was being physically hurt. There's a big difference between that kind of scream and a pleasurable one. The body gives it away, doing all it can to prevent the hurt from continuing. I could feel her asshole tighten around my cock. I need to stop, I'm sorry, it hurts too much. I got off of her and said, That's okay, we can stop. Then I held her head on my chest and kissed the top of it. I love you, she said, and really meant it. I love you too, I lied. Day 267. We've just finished having sex in my high school bedroom, or villa as my dad calls it. Nat's in my bathroom, which is the size of my bedroom in Austin, wiping cum off her pussy. I'm in bed still, watching the ceiling fan spin at max speed, watching also highlights from today's Premier League games. Our trip ends in 3 days, and I have to say, so far it's been great. Nat got along well with my family and friends, as well as one who doesn't speak the language can. I hosted a party at my dad's beach club with some of my old buddies from high school, and it was a huge success. I took Nat scuba diving, and my dad snapped pictures of us underwater, which I'll cherish forever. We went to Tulum and ate the best fish tacos I ever ate by the beach, and then swam in turquoise waves next to 2 girlfriends swimming nude. I did my best to glance only when Nat looked away, their bodies a reminder of what American women are missing most: flavor. That's one thing I've noticed coming back here after so long. Girls are in flip-flops and bikinis no matter where you go, wearing those see-through beach gowns over them. It makes me think of watching sunsets by the ocean and how different that is from watching sunsets by a river like the one in Austin. It's like time moves slower in Mexico. Everyone leaves work as soon as their shift is over, not a second later. When friends come over, they aren't in such a rush to move on to the next plan of the day, because you are their only plan, because that's how much you mean to people here. Weddings run from morning to morning. Nightclubs don't close at 2 in the morning like they do in the States. Late night hangs mean potentially watching the sunrise together, not going home at midnight. I miss that more than anything. The camaraderie I left behind, the ease with which I move through social interactions. At restaurants I know exactly what to say and how to get a waiter's attention. While driving I balance road rage with defensive driving the way you're supposed to do in Mexico, without all this hesitation nonsense. I just know better how I'm supposed to behave. I can joke and say retard, cunt, fag, bitch, pussy. Nothing that I say is taken seriously because that's just not how things work here. There aren't as many uptight assholes trying to monitor your behavior and force you to fit within their comfort zone. Generally, Work and living conditions are much worse, so when people get off to go home, hang out with friends or whatever, the goal is to have fun, to talk about each other, not whatever the president last said in a news conference, or how offended we all are that the newest group of oppressed aren't getting their way. Fuck that noise. It exists only because of how limited everyone's worldview is. It represents the minority. It's why I stay away from complainers. I didn't want to live my whole life in Mexico knowing how fucked my life could become at even the slightest sign of success. Every day you read the papers, you see hundreds of new murders and dead bodies and drug busts at bars and restaurants you frequent. In high school, friends of friends were kidnapped for ransom because mommy and daddy scored big with their new business. That's why we bribe police officers and do things under the table. Nobody wants to follow the rules when the rules aren't being followed by law enforcement or local gangs. So I left the country. I moved somewhere I knew would be safer and all around easier, because even with how rigid some Americans are, how suffocating hearing words be crossed off of valid use vocabulary is, and how politics make bystanders feel depressed, I prefer it to the kind of misery that exists in Mexico. Nat comes back to bed and puts her arms around me. Her eyes reflect my own sadness back to me. I mask it with a smile. My mom keeps freaking out about stuff she's reading on the news, she says. She's worried about me. Did you tell her I'm protecting you so there's nothing to worry about? We laugh and Nat's hand slides from my ribs to my armpit. I push her off abruptly. I'm sorry, that tickled. Nat smiles and slides her hand again the exact same way. Her other hand comes across my chest and digs deep into my second armpit. I despise being tickled. Fucking hate it. I push her off again and say, "Stop, it's not funny." But I'm laughing so she thinks I'm having a good time and does it again. I flip her onto her back and lock her arms against the bed with my knees. Then I tickle her and laugh and say, "Do you like how it feels, huh?" I tickle her more. One of her arms gets loose and punches me in the chest, hard. It allows her to free her other arm and punch me in the chest a second time, harder this time, the wind being knocked out of me. Our eyes meet and neither one of us laughs now. I'm so angry I'm fuming. I slap her across the face hard. "What the fuck?" I say. "That fucking hurt." I tower over her as red fills my face, but my anger goes away as soon as I see her crying, whimpering like a wounded dog, her face just as red as mine. I know exactly what comes next, but I don't want it to happen that way. It feels unfair that I should be punished for a minor offense than hers just because I'm a man. My stubbornness defeats me, takes hold of me like Hurricane Wilma did Yucatan. "What's wrong with you?" she yells in my face. "Why would you do that to me?" "Oh, please. You hit me way harder. Didn't I ask you to stop?" Nat shoves me off of her and stands away from the bed, wipes her tears on the clothes I stripped her of before we had sex. The way Nat looks at me, I feel like a monster who thinks he's the hero. It reminds me of the last time we broke up, how she freaked the fuck out and clung to the wall, afraid to look me in the eyes or even step 1 inch closer to me. I think of my dad finding out and scolding me, her parents calling her and asking how the trip went so she can tell them that I hit her. "I'm sorry," I say. "I shouldn't have done that, but neither should you. I was trying to have fun. You sat and thought about it for 5 seconds before you slapped me. You wanted to hurt me. I can't stand being told what I did when the thing being said is a lie. Being told how I feel by someone that isn't me. I told you to stop fucking tickling me and then you kept going, knowing I wasn't enjoying it. And when I tickled you, you punched me in the chest. Twice! Don't play the victim, okay? You're an asshole. And you're an ungrateful little bitch." The fear I feel is indescribable. I know I've just ruined our relationship. It's my fault. I didn't control my anger, and I hurt the person who loves me most in this world. I don't deserve for this to get better. I deserve to be kicked in the stomach and dumped in the ocean, with weights tied around my ankles and my hands tied behind my back, taking in water through my mouth and nose, looking up at the boat I was thrown from, my family and friends all staring down at me, glad that I'm sinking. I feel like a small boy again. I've done something wrong, but I'm not sure why exactly. All I know is that I have to make sure that's not how this ends. Otherwise, I'll be shunned and sent to my room to figure it out on my own. Nat and I stare at each other with hate in our eyes. I feel it in my stomach first, then my chest. Tears well up inside me, and from one instant to another I start bawling my eyes out, curled up in a ball, naked. I skip the part where one tear rolls down your eye and start hyperventilating, phlegm running down my nose and mouth, dripping onto the hairs on my chest and arms. "I'm sorry," I say. "I'm so sorry." My throat tightens as I clench my teeth. My legs shake. Sweat makes my body feel feverish. If I have one dying wish, it's for Nat to hold me and tell me that everything's going to be okay. Her approval is all I need right now. "Are you done?" she asks. And just like that, I go back to a seated position, and all of my tears disappear. Wow, I say. What? You know you're no better than I am. You know exactly what you did. You just won't own up to it. You're a victim to yourself only. What do you want me to say, Nick? Nothing. I feel better. I'm going to get ready for bed. You were crying just a second ago. What do you mean you feel better? Don't act like you care that I was crying, please. Look, you've never slapped me before. I'm just a little freaked out, okay? I'm halfway across the world right now with only you to guide me. It's not easy being in a foreign country when the one person you know hurts you like that. You hurt me too. Can you just listen to me for a second? I look down at her feet, her turquoise nail polish. I'm sorry that I hurt you. You're right, I shouldn't have punched you, and I didn't know that I was going to. I just got kind of freaked out when you put your knees over my wrists like that. I was trying to get you off of me. Can you just hold me for a second so I can calm down? My anxiety is through the roof right now. Yeah, it sickens me. The whole thing fucking disgusts me. I can't believe what I'm about to do, succumbing to her like this when she couldn't even come near me seconds ago as I cried in bed. There's always a fucking reason why for women. Anxiety is gnats. I get up and pull her close to me, bring her back to bed and sit down next to her. She's shaking and her fists are balled up. She smells like tears and sweat if a mixture of both exists. I love you, I say. I'm so goddamn relieved that we're this close to each other again. Why do I always overreact to everything? So she punched me and I slapped her. Big deal. We love each other. The fact that we're able to move on from such intense fighting so quickly is proof of that. I love you too, she says. Her body sinks into the bed. My hands come over her shoulders and dig in deep to massage the stress away. Whatever I was crying about just now seems like it was years ago, and even though my body feels like it was run over by a bus, I know that if I take care of Nat, I won't be as focused on my own pain. I'm so tight in the shoulders I feel like I'm carrying an extra pair on top of the ones I already have. I kiss her cheeks and forehead and mouth. She kisses me back and sticks her tongue in my mouth. It tastes salty and warm. My cock gets hard and Nat grips it with her good arm. I want you to fuck me, she says. I will. I'll fuck you good. How do you want me to fuck you? Be gentle with me. I want us to be loving with each other. Will you make love to me? I'll do anything you want me to. Nat scoots up against the bed's backrest and pulls me with her. She slides me inside her and moans softly. You feel so good, she says. I kiss her and play with her nipples as I go in and out of her. Do you love me? She asks. I do love you. Of course I love you. And you didn't mean to hurt me just now, did you? I would never hurt you. She closes her eyes and lets her head fall back on the pillows. I bring my face close to her neck and start kissing and biting it. And just before I come, I notice how big my handprint looks on her left cheek. Day 271. I have to go back to work tomorrow, but I have all day today to do whatever the hell I want because Nat has class and then work right after. My bank account being low again worries me, so I reach out to Frank and ask if he wants to chat. $250 would look nice in my PayPal right now. He tells me he's busy and to reach out later tonight. He's short with his responses, so I decide not to push it. I end our exchange by telling him I miss him and can't wait to see him later. Then I open a blank Word page on my computer. It's been so long since I worked on one of the stories for the book that I don't even know where to start. I read over some of the finished ones to try and get inspired, but my focus is shot. Even reading has become too difficult now. I change mindsets and go back to the same blank page. I'm going to write something terrible on purpose, just whatever comes out of me, and be judgment-free. The first sentence that I write isn't so bad. Ricky took the knife from my hand and jammed it inside Duncan's stomach, her eyes looking straight into mine. It gives me enough to go off of, so I write a few more sentences. When I hit 200 words, I remember a conversation I overheard once about subtext within conversations and how that's really all that matters sometimes, not what is actually being said. It sparks an idea. I want Ricky and the narrator to sit down and have a conversation as soon as they finish murdering Duncan. And I want the subtext to be that Ricky holds leverage over the narrator because she has already killed one person, so if it means keeping that a secret, she wouldn't mind killing a second one. It wraps up at under 700 words, my shortest short story. I read over it. I like what I read. Then I look at the time. It's barely noon. Life moves so damn slow when you come home from vacation. I'm stressed as fuck that Nat and I aren't together today because we've spent the last 10 days sleeping in the same bed, eating the same food, sharing all the same spaces, big and small. I've grown so used to having her with me all the time that I don't remember how to be alone. Wrong. I do remember how to be alone. I just don't like what that's looked like of late. But I do it anyway. I open Craigslist on my browser and search the personals. spot out a few candidates. I'm not actually going to meet up with them. I just want to get turned on and fantasize about it. I email an ad put up by a gay couple somewhere in Cedar Park and offer them my services. I don't ever mention money in the first email because that's a great way to be ignored. I've never been with two guys at once. The prospect of doing something for the first time excites me. They reply to my email, asking if I'm open to doing more than just a blowjob. They say it's okay if I don't bottom, as long as I'm willing to top one of them. Even though I get hard reading that, it's not up for discussion. In my reply, I talk up how good I am at blowjobs and how I've never been used by two guys at once. My hope is that they'll want to break in a newbie like me. Most men love it when they get to do something to you for the first time. I know the likelihood of them agreeing is low because of how uninterested they seemed in their first email, so I make a promise to myself because of that if they do take me up on it, I'll do it. It doesn't matter that I have a girlfriend, or that I know I'll feel empty afterward, because the thought of having two men use me like that has my cock exposing veins it never had before. The odds are so low I feel comfortable making that wager. Their answer is no. I dread the thought of moving through such a slow day sober, so I pack a bowl and smoke it as I listen to reggae music to cheer myself up. The high makes my cock even harder. Now I'm in the bathroom watching a porn star take cock down her throat like a savage. I explode into the toilet bowl. Floating there, my cum looks like a group of ghosts underwater. I flush. I smoke some more and ride my bike to the grocery store. The day feels so adventurous. Even trivial things like going to the store feel dangerous somehow. I bring home a 6-pack of cinnamon rolls and a bag of cheese ruffles. This will be my first meal of the day. What better way to eat than by loading up a bunch of YouTube videos and sitting at my computer with the windows open in my room? It's 90 degrees outside, and all morning I've been trying to convince myself to go sit by the pool and read. This is the next best way to be outside, and this way I don't have to risk interacting with other humans. A weight sinks down to the bottom of my stomach when I swallow the last of the cinnamon rolls. It ties me down to my chair and begs me to load more videos, continue being glued to the screen. I open my ruffles and keep eating. My throat feels like it's backed up from all the food. It hurts to eat the chips, but I can't seem to stop. Half of the bag disappears before I put it away. My fingers are orange and my lips are greasy. The high wears off, so I smoke another bowl and go sit by the pool with my Kindle. I fall asleep reading My Lovely Wife in the Psych Ward. An hour later, I come back to awareness. I reach for my phone first thing and check my email. Frank wants to see me in an hour. No, his email was sent an hour ago. He wants to see me now, and he's using caps in his message to show me that he's angry, impatient. I grab my stuff and run into my apartment, sit down at the computer, and open Skype. He calls and I answer, and my PayPal is still at $0. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at me with his big, round glasses and his wrinkly eyes. It's so good to see you. How was your trip? Where did you go? Back home to see my dad. It was okay. It's hard to go home sometimes. Where is home? Mexico. Where in Mexico? I feel like you're upset at me, and honestly, I'm not in the mood to be treated like that right now. Frank spots my bluff and calls me on it. Okay, goodbye. The call ends. His icon turns gray with an X over it. I try to message him, but nothing goes through. I email him. He unblocks me and sends me this message. I'm done playing games. You're hiding behind every question I ask you. You're not worth my money anymore. I'm typing out a response, but his icon turns gray again, and now I know he will never unblock me again. My biggest fucking income disappears just like that. Panic makes itself at home in the confines of my mind. I immediately think of ways to get Frank back. What I can email to convince him that I'll change and be the boy he wants me to be. But I don't actually want that. It's too risky. If he knows my real identity, that means he has leverage. It means everyone in my life could find out what I'm doing with him if he does even 1 hour's worth of research on me. I take a shower to clear my head. In the closet, as I get dressed, I notice the $275 limited edition jacket I bought on impulse. I haven't worn it once. I guess fame and fortune would get the best of me. What a fucking waste of money. That's almost half of my monthly rent. Nat texts me when she gets off work. 3 long paragraphs that detail her stressful shift in the kitchen. One of her coworkers made a dirty joke while she was on her knees scrubbing a drain. I want to find that dude and give him a new face. Instead, I fall on my bed and open up my Kindle. I'm halfway done with this psych ward book, and diving into the narrator's problems is all I can do to avoid breaking down over my own. Mark Luckock is the author and also the protagonist. His wife Julia is in a psych ward, and he's responsible for both her and their newborn baby boy. She's gone in and out of the ward several times now, hope sucked away from Mark every time she returns. He'll never be comfortable thinking that Julia will be okay. She has bipolar disorder, and by now, Mark has explained that the science in this field is lacking. It's medieval the way they treat it. His life won't ever be sitting still at the breakfast table with a good book in hand, watching his son run around the yard with his mom. It'll never be that way because she'll forever struggle to know what is real and what is not, who the devil is and why she thinks that her son is possessed by him, and Nat is bipolar just like Julia. My life could very well become a mirror image of Mark Lukács. I put the book down because all it does is stress me out. I can't stop thinking about what my life will look like if I stay with Nat. You have to be strong to marry someone like that, mentally and emotionally. I feel I am neither. Day 278. In the lobby for one of Austin's psych wards, I wait for Nat and read the rest of Mark Lukács' memoir. She's not been checked in or anything like that. She's here to try out a support group that her therapist recommended. It's kind of like AA, but for crazy people. Up high on a corner of the ceiling, there's a TV playing old episodes of Shark Tank. The volume is low, but I can still hear it. It distracts me from reading, so I look around the room trying to find the remote. The only other people in the room with me are a security guard and a receptionist. They both stand by the metal detector, which is by the front door, chatting about life at home. Behind them is a smaller room with all glass windows and lockers for visitors to leave phones and keys and pretty much any other thing they're carrying. They've agreed to let me bring my Kindle in, most likely because of the color of my skin, and because I guess to most people I look trustworthy on the outside. If only I could replace the void I feel inside with that. I go back to my Kindle, and as I'm reading about Julia being put in a psych ward, swatting at the nurses, cursing everyone around her, her thoughts freaking her the fuck out, an ambulance arrives outside of the waiting room. Two big, strong men walk in with a younger kid not unlike me, his hands cuffed behind his back. He's yelling and scratching what he can. Fuck you! Fuck my parents! They just want to get rid of me! Nobody loves me! They take the handcuffs off and put him through the metal detector. He finds the nearest wall and bangs his head against it 3 times before they can restrain him again. The handcuffs come back on. Your parents are almost here, says one of the strong men. Is there anything you'd like us to tell them while we have them on the phone? They don't love me, so they can go fuck themselves too. The boy laughs maniacally. He looks over at me and catches me staring. I look down at my Kindle again. What? You think you're better than me, you fucking homo? The receptionist looks at me and mouths, I'm sorry, as her shoulders shrug. I don't respond and instead think about how crazy this all is. Me bringing my girlfriend to a psych ward, reading a book about a psych ward in the lobby for a psych ward, watching a new patient get brought into said psych ward. Maybe I'm not as fucked up as I think. Just one look at this kid and I can tell I'm nowhere near as sick. That doesn't mean I'm not flawed, but it's reassuring to see mental disorders in person. How different those are than feeling sad or worried about trivial life pursuits. I always thought there was a possibility I might be insane too, and though I've never been to a psychiatrist, I think all of those worries were more like excuses I latched onto as a means of avoiding my reality and being confronted with the facts. Sure, I'm a cheater, a hustler, and a liar, but it must be because I'm not all there mentally, aside from all the shit my family put me through, of course. When the boy's parents show up, he starts slamming his head against the wall he's sitting in front of. Ah! I fucking hate you, he says to them. Get out of here, you fags! You're not my real parents. You're just 2 fags who want to make more fags in this world. My palms sweat as I watch this. I try not to be obvious, but the drama is so intense I need to make sure I'm keeping an eye on the kid, too. I can't just sit here with my fucking head down and pretend there's not a psycho a few chairs down from me, who may or may not come over to me and kick me in the face. One dad signs papers with the receptionist while the other tries to console the boy. Matthew, you know we love you. This is for your own good. Fuck you, you fucking fag. You just want the house to yourselves so you can fuck each other in the ass. You disgust me. Both dads start to cry. The one signing papers puts the pen down and brings the other into his arms. It's okay, he says. Remember, this isn't him. Oh, it's me that's talking. You better fucking believe it's me. I never loved you. How could I love 2 fags like you? Get the fuck out of here and just leave me already. That's all you came here for, so stop pretending you care. The boy's parents exit the building and don't look back once as they head for their car. My heart breaks for them. It breaks for the boy, too. Perhaps he's not all there right now, but his pain and my pain are not that different. All he wants is to feel loved. Our eyes meet again before they take him away. This time I don't look away. What are you looking at? He says. Faggot. Day 287. Out of the blue, I get a text from Penny asking if I'm free for lunch at 2. It's 1 right now, and all I can think about is how badly I don't want to go back to work. She says she'll pick me up in 30 minutes. I don't remember the last time I saw Penny. In fact, now that Ben and I have become close friends, I didn't think she even wanted to see me. But I guess as usual, I was just tricking myself into ruining another friendship, waiting for her to give me the okay, instead of asking her to hang out myself. My curtains are still drawn, my room's pitch black, Bailey's barking up a storm from her crate because my brother's been at work all day. I have nothing better to do before Penny gets here, so I let her out of the crate and take her outside. She's all smiles today, the kind of smile a dog gives when it needs to shit urgently. Goofy doesn't quite describe it. One of my neighbors walks past us with his 2 chihuahuas leading the way, bouncing all over the place trying to get Bailey's attention. Bailey's on a mission, so she pays them no mind. She drags me to a strip of grass that runs the length of the parking lot and goes to town with her nose. Watching her sniff like crazy makes me wonder why there hasn't been a toy invented that's purpose is to release scents your dog will like. Sometimes that's all they really want, to go outside and smell the world. After 10 minutes of pacing back and forth on this long, green strip of grass, I take her inside with the unused poop bag still attached to her leash. Penny texts me that she's downstairs. I get my wallet, phone, and keys, and meet her at her car. The last time we hung out just the 2 of us was when we still worked at the juice shop together. I can't tell what it is exactly, but there's an awkwardness to being alone with her that feels like sexual tension. After all, I remember when I saw her as I came in for my interview. I got excited knowing there was going to be at least one cute girl working alongside me. This was before I knew she had a boyfriend. Now she's single, and I'm not, so the roles are reversed. She's also a vegan, and as much as I respect that for her, it's not something I would curse upon myself. Her being vegan is the reason we came to Bolden Creek Cafe, and though I love this place, I'd much rather be sitting somewhere that serves meat and chicken, real protein. So how's being back with Nat? It's not much different than it was the first time around, but I'm happy, focusing on myself instead of on her all the time. I'm almost done with my new book. Nice! Are you still working with Ned? Nah, shit got pretty stupid after you quit. Like, really stupid. I can't imagine it getting worse. Oh yeah, it got to the point where him and Allie just wouldn't talk to me. They came in 2 hours late one day with Whole Foods for breakfast and iced me out from their conversation. Man, fuck Ned. He's such a creep for hiring his girlfriend. You just don't do that. I know. And remember that dude they hired from Apple to be our new HR manager? Yeah, you mean our first HR person since Sarah? Yeah, that guy. I tried talking to him about the situation, and a couple of weeks later he quit because when he brought it to the owner, he brought it to Ned, and nothing was done about it. He was basically filling a role just so they could check that box off. Damn, so Ned found out that you talked to the higher-ups? It was gross, but yeah, he'd known for 2 weeks the day I confronted him. What did he say? By the time we got out to the back, I was crying, my whole body shaking. I told him he'd been acting irresponsibly and immature by hiring Allie, giving her preference, all the basic shit. Then I told him that this whole passive-aggressive behavior needed to stop from them. I think I said something along the lines of, "You're emotionally manipulating and abusing me." Hell yeah, Nick. Someone needs to stand up to him. You know what he said after I said that? What? You spit in my face when you went around my back and talked to Carl. After I recommended you for the managerial position? That's how you repay me? Ugh. I know. I was like, damn, dude. You're how much older than me again? I'm surprised he didn't keep his job at the ski lodge in Idaho. Did he ever tell you about that? Doing coke and drinking every day? Yeah. Yeah, goddamn. It still frustrates me to think about that. I take a sip of water. But how are you? Now that it's been, a couple months since you've been single? Penny blushes and laughs. Then she says, honestly, it's scary to think that at one point I wanted to get married and have Ben's babies. I'm so much happier without him. Life is just easier when you're single. I hear that. I get out of class and don't have to worry about texting him or seeing him. I can do shrooms and go to a museum with my friends, or go on a date. Or I can just go home and fucking chill, you know? Thinking about what it was like being with him is so suffocating. I felt like I had no time to myself. Whenever I wanted to see my friends, he always came with. And it's like, I love you, dude. I'm happy you want to spend time with me and my friends, but don't you have anywhere else you'd rather be? Does that make sense? I hope I'm not coming across as a bitch. No, I completely understand. And the only thing keeping you in that relationship is fear. I remember the first time you texted me that you'd broken up with him, how scared you were. Hell, Don't you remember all the times I texted you when Nat and I broke up? Yes, exactly. We're just way too young to be so serious with someone else. It's crazy to think about. But you're happy with Nat? Happier than I was the first time around, yeah. But it's not perfect. There's just so much dark shit going on with me that I feel like I'm playing pretend being in that relationship. But then I think, well, she's got some pretty heavy shit of her own being bipolar and whatnot. Maybe it's not so bad that we're together. What do you mean, dark shit? Just things I've done that I'm ashamed of. Stuff I don't know I'll ever be ready to talk about. Nothing dangerous, though, right? I think about therapy and Alex telling me how dangerous she thinks what I'm doing is. Not dangerous, no. Just kind of sad. Our waitress sets down the vegan Lux salad on Penny's side and the wanna BLT on mine. Can I get you anything else? She asks. Penny and I nod our heads and say thank you, and the waitress leaves. You know what? Penny says. Would you want to go on a road trip with me and some of my friends? Yeah. Are you kidding? Where are you going? We want to camp at the bottom of the Grand Canyon for 2 nights. We're still figuring out the rest, but it would be a week-long trip at most. That sounds incredible. Do you know when this is happening? Early next year, like first week of January. And Evan's coming. You know Evan. Oh yeah, I know him pretty well after sleeping in that tent with him. It's me, him, you, and another friend of mine, Caleb. This is perfect. We've been looking for a 4th person for months now. I wish this was happening next week. Penny picks up her phone and starts texting as she says, I'm letting them know now and adding you to the group text so we can all talk about what we're bringing and where we want to go. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm so honored that you want me to come. Our waitress circles back around. She fills up my water. I thank her as I bite into my sandwich. Day 291. I haven't seen Alex since before the trip home with Nat. I kind of don't want to anymore, but I remember hearing Tucker Max talk about psychoanalysis and how he quit time after time but always came back. I don't feel like going back, but I also don't want to quit and then regret it, so I scheduled one more appointment with her for today. She's been encouraging me not to be so fatalistic about my relationship with Nat. She says I can still work on myself while I'm with her, and that it may even be good for me to practice building confidence and self-love within a romantic relationship. I knocked off some points when she said that. As a therapist, how can you possibly encourage your patient to stay in a relationship with a woman he's cheated on? More and more I see the illusion of therapy fall apart with Alex. She doesn't know nearly as much about me as I already know about myself. I'm even starting to feel like I'm more knowledgeable when it comes to the theory of psychology, too. But fuck it, what's one more session, besides the $65 I can't afford? I'm thinking of breaking up with her again. Did something happen? I stopped seeing Frank, but now that I have that time on my hands, I can't stop thinking about cheating again. I feel like I'd be happier if I stopped giving a fuck and just did whatever I want. I'm so tired of trying to do the right thing. I'm 20. I should be doing what I want. What ended your relationship with Frank? Hearing her call it a relationship upsets me. He got tired of not knowing anything about me. Alex nods and writes in her notebook. Has he reached out to you since? He blocked all our communications. How do you feel about that? Looking back, I mean, how do you feel about having gone through that with him? I'm not sure I understand or want to answer the question, so I just look at Alex, confused. I guess I'm just a little worried that you're so ready to sweep this under the rug. This bitch just wants to continue to guilt me, I see. Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you think there's something worth talking about in regards to Frank? Maybe. Like what? You seem very detached from how dangerous these situations you put yourself in are. Haven't we talked about this already? I understand other people fall prey to sexual predators and online bullying and all that. I'm not like other people, though. There's a reason Frank didn't know anything about me. There's a reason I email Craigslist ads back and forth 10 times before meeting up. I'm not that stupid. But I get it. That's worrisome. I want to be clear that it's not only the personals on Craigslist I'm concerned with. Even I'm scared to use it when I want free furniture. A lot of my friends are, too. Part of my job as your therapist is to identify whether or not a situation is a potential threat to your life. So what? So you can ring it in and have me surrounded with police? I feel like I'm getting to Alex the way she keeps pursing her lips. I'm glad I am, because I'm also feeling so under fire and unsafe in this room now. I almost want to ask for my fucking money back, but I'm too much of a pussy to do anything, so I sit there and pretend that I'll be back. I never want to see her again. And knowing I don't have to is the first time in a long time that I've felt remotely close to being empowered. When I get home, I go straight to my computer, straight into writing a new short story. I don't want to talk about Nat. I don't want to see my brother. I don't want to reply to any of the messages on my phone or to even fucking exist in this world we call our reality. I want to disappear into the life of Laszlo Parts, a part-time juicer with an abusive father and a predisposition for never being able to say no to people. Before I forget, I want to make sure I capture what it felt like to be hanging out with Ben and Penny the whole time thinking they wanted to have a threesome with me. Laszlo's lucky in that he doesn't exist in the boring real world. He exists in my mind, the perverse fucking place where anything can happen. I write like I'm on a deadline. My hands sweat over the keyboard and brown muck gathers where my palms rest. Every now and then I'll stop to wipe it off of my computer. It's not until page 10 that I realize I've been writing in third person, as removed as I'll ever be from any of my characters. Once I get over that painful realization, I have another one. My cock is heavy, hard like a rock. I can feel it trying to lift my clothes. The story feels halfway done, and I guess my erection is a sign of where it should end. I want so badly to have a threesome right now, but I wouldn't even know where to start. Instead, I imagine that I'm Laszlo. I imagine myself fucking his coworker Nashla in the ass and her moaning because she can't stand how good it feels. I imagine her flirting with me at work in the days after our fucking, rubbing up against my cock on accident. It's all so vivid. I use places from the real world to decorate my twisted imagination. I go to the bathroom in the real world and stroke my cock fast thinking of the story world. Nashla says all kinds of dirty things to me, things you only hear in the pornos. My eyes are shut tight. My grip is starting to burn. My cock feels on fire. I come into Nashla's mouth so hard that she comes close to being real. I flush the toilet.
So the relationship with my therapist really stands out to me because it took me maybe a year after the events from the book and writing about them to really see that I was not taking advantage of an opportunity for a lot of growth, which a lot of people don't, myself included. Like, I still sometimes, with my current therapist, I still struggle to take advantage of these opportunities. And the opportunity that I'm talking about is when your therapist, at least this has been my experience, when my therapist does something that I feel uncomfortable with or that I register as, I don't like this, I feel like you're trying to do this. When I start to focus a lot on my therapist's behavior and how that makes me feel, the worst thing I could possibly do is just not say anything about it. And the best thing I could do is to be fully open with my therapist about it. And I think that the reason that I sometimes don't do that is because I'm afraid of upsetting my therapist, right? I'm afraid of, oh, well, what if they don't like me anymore? What if they think that I'm this, that, what if they think that I'm broken, right? And if I get down to the root of all of those insecurities or all those thoughts, is like, well, they already know, not that I'm broken, but that I have shit I want to work on, right? That's why I'm here in the first place. So that's already a given. And then, what if I upset them? What if they feel a certain way? That's their job, is to take information that you give them and process it and then sort of feed it back in an objective way with maybe solutions or ways to approach those emotions. But if you don't tell your therapist what you're thinking or what you're feeling, then there's only so much they can do for you, right? And so up until maybe a year and a half ago when I wrote this book, I still had a hard time believing that Alex was a good therapist and believing, that I should have stayed a little bit longer and that I was doing work while I was with her, because I was blaming her, right? Instead of looking at myself and saying, well, why didn't I? All the things that I wrote in the book, why didn't I tell her those things when I was feeling them, when they were coming up? And it's because I was afraid, right? Afraid of confronting whatever that might mean about me or my past, and confronting what my life would look like if I didn't have these beliefs in my head that I could just label and then quit. And just because in a way these are defense mechanisms that allow me to sort of take the easy route. It's like, oh, well, fuck this therapist. She doesn't know what she's doing because she's making me feel upset. So I'm just going to quit therapy until I find the right therapist, right? And this applies to a lot of other things in life, but I've talked to several people in my life, like in my present day, that are going to therapy who don't know this. And I didn't know this either until very recently. Is like, you can and you are supposed to tell your therapist when they do something that you don't like, or because in a way, sort of therapy is like recreating, whether it's a man or a woman, you're recreating your relationship to that sex with your therapist, right? So in the case of the book, I was recreating my relationship to women with Alex, and our goal obviously was for her to, by recreating this relationship, show me, oh, I can trust women, and I can be vulnerable with women, and I can just not sexualize all women, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if we do the work, right? Because they can be a terrible therapist. That is true. Most of the time, though, it lands somewhere in between. You can be a terrible patient, too. You could just, maybe not terrible, maybe that's a little bit harsh, but you could just not be ready to do the work. And it doesn't matter how long you go to therapy or how much you think you're trying. If you're just not ready, you're not going to do the things that you need to do to heal. But the goal is to recreate that relationship so that you can rebuild certain bad habits and if I told Alex, I don't like it when you say this, or when you ask me about this, or when you compare my behavior to this, and then we sort of navigate that issue in a healthy way, then it shows me, oh, I can do this. And even though I'm paying for this, even though like the relationship is still genuine, and that's something that I think a lot of people struggle to accept. I still struggle to accept that and to understand. Just because I'm paying this person doesn't mean that they don't give a fuck about me, right? Maybe that's the case for some therapists, but it's not the case for all therapists. And if you believe that is true, then you're just using it as an excuse, right, to not do the work, because it's just not true.
Day 326. Nearly every time we see each other, we fight. It's so real when they say humans prefer to live with misery they know than to explore a life they don't. Nat and I are both afraid of what it would mean to be alone again, even though being together is as lonely as we've ever felt. Just a couple of weeks ago, we went to a concert for my birthday and left before it finished. Our fighting is so stupid I can hardly remember how it starts. The only images I do store are of her red face as she cries and my red chest as I yell, and somehow it's always me who ends up being the bad guy. Though I guess that's how it goes with most guys. I see it in the movies all the time, on TV. This idea of a whipped boyfriend or husband. And maybe seeing that is what makes me fight back so hard, so often. I don't want to be another one of those weak, uninteresting guys, especially when I know that Nat's wrong, like when she complains that we have to leave the concert because I'm feeling sick. If things were the other way around, I wouldn't hesitate to leave the fucking place. Why would I want to make her sit through something if she's feeling sick? The hypocrisy is next level with her, and I'm fed up with it. I already know we're going to get into an argument at this goddamn festival we're going to. We can't even talk about which bands we'll see without getting mad at each other. What a joke, right? But because we're sharing a lift with my brother, I have to act like everything's okay. We're in the parking lot of my apartment complex waiting for our ride when I notice that the driver has already started our ride without us in the car. My anger spikes to a 10. I grab Nat's phone from her hands because she called the ride, and I phone the driver. Yo, what the fuck? I say. Why'd you start the ride if you haven't picked us up? You know what? You can call lift support and go fuck yourself with that attitude. I'm ending this ride. Click. I'm even angrier now. I'm so fucking angry my words get caught in my throat as I scroll through the support section trying to figure out a way to fuck this guy over. There's no way I'm letting him get away with this. I have to right this wrong. Just let it go, Todd says. I called another ride. This is him right here. The same car from our previous ride pulls up. I look at Todd's phone. It's the same driver. Just what I need. I jog to the car so I can get inside before Nat and Todd. As they pile in, I'm in the back seat, staring straight into the driver's face through the rear view mirror. "What's up, man?" I say, hoping he'll gather the missing information from my tone. Going to ACL, correct?" He's clueless. He starts driving. "We just talked on the phone, remember?" He does a double take in the mirror and pulls the car over as he says, "Oh, great! You can go ahead and get the fuck out of my car then, 'cause I'm not taking you anywhere." "Oh, yes, you are. Keep driving, you fuck." His hands reach for the phone on his dash and end our ride. "Get the fuck out right now. This ride's over." Nat gets out and so does Todd. I look around the back seat for some last-minute answers. I pick up my clean canteen and feel some water still in it. Not much, but a small splash is all I need. I twist open the top and shoot what water is left in his face. As I get out of the car, I see out of the corner of my eye that he's getting out too. "Oh, you're fucking asking for it now," he says. He rushes me and swings at my face, but I duck and we both fall to the grassy sidewalk. My legs immediately come up and onto his chest like my jiu-jitsu instructor taught me. The only difference from this in class is that I'm half on concrete and half on grass, not a cushioned pad. He tries to hit me from where he's standing, but my legs are too long and they keep us at a distance. Then Todd throws his arms around his neck and pulls him off. "Stop," he says. "Don't fight it." I stand up and swing a right hook at his face that lands just below his left ear. I swing again fast and hit him closer to the jaw this time. He falls to the grass and takes Todd with him. I have a 3-second window to kick him in the mouth with my killer left leg, but reason kicks in and I manage to stop myself. Somehow I know that kicking him could be deadly. Todd latches onto his neck again and tightens his grip. This dude's face is red, blood dripping from his mouth. "I can't breathe. Please, I can't breathe. Let me go." Todd lets him go, a gaping hole in his brand new t-shirt from all the scratching. Then the three of us walk back to the apartment so he can change his shirt and call another ride. Day 331. I hate parties. I hate how people act at parties. I hate the party I'm at right now. One of Nat's roommates turns 23, and I guess that gives her and all of her friends an excuse to get drunk and act stupid. All of Nat's friends are just as beautiful as she is, and the ones that aren't still act like they are. What I mean is that it's hard for me to talk to them. Not at first, though, because at first it was just Nat and I and her two roommates, and, well, that's not so bad. But now the house is packed with over 50 people, all complete strangers to me, except for a familiar face here and there. Someone I may have seen in passing hanging out with Nat once or something like that. I invited Ben, but he couldn't make it, so now I'm sitting on a bar stool in the kitchen, drinking a beer so at least one of my hands won't look dumb. 30 minutes ago, Nat was sitting on the stool next to mine, but she wanted to go around the party and say hi to people, so she's been circling back to me every 5 or so minutes, kissing me, drunker every time she comes around. And I tell myself it's okay, one breath after another, as I watch everyone else have way more fun than I'm having. Gabe, Nat's best friend who happens to be gay, keeps looking at me like he knows that I'm a fraud. I wonder if gay men aren't just better than most at spotting other gay men, but also sniffing out anyone who's had a cock in their mouth. Every part of me wants to leave, to hide from all the other insecure 20-somethings at this house, but I'm scared I'll upset Nat if I do. So I do the next best thing and tell her I'm feeling tired, which isn't a lie. I worked a fucking double at the food truck today, and this party started 30 minutes after my shift ended. All I had time to do was shower and change clothes. So I find Nat and tell her I'm going to go in her bedroom and call it a night. I also tell her she shouldn't worry about me. She should enjoy herself because odds are I'll pass out pretty quickly. "Okay, baby," she says, and kisses me on the mouth. "I love you." "I love you too." I find my way to her bedroom, and when I turn the light on, I see all 3 of the house cats on her bed, sleeping. I'm allergic to cats. I grab a high heel from the dresser and poke all 3 of them in their fat fucking bellies. They scurry off the bed and hide under it. Then I shake off the covers and get under them. Once I've done the right thing, the best I could manage, my insecurities start to pile on top of each other. What's worse is that now all I have to go on is my hearing, because I can't see Nat through the walls. I hear people chanting the word chug a number of times, and afterward, they all yell out Nat's name. I hear 2 guys outside Nat's bedroom talking. "You know what they say about law school, Mark? It's for pussies like you. It goes study, fuck, Bitches are crazy for you. Those are literally the only 2 things I do all semester." I tune out the rest of their conversation and picture Nat being one of those bitches. It makes my blood boil to think about that. I haven't talked to anyone for 10 minutes, and all of a sudden I have 3 new enemies, Nat and those 2 fuckheads outside her bedroom. They probably all think I'm some antisocial freak for wanting to go to sleep when there's a party going on outside. Another 20 minutes go by and the noise only gets louder. Despite the party having moved outside, I can hear it clearer than ever, and I realize it's because the window next to Nat's bed is open. That gets me thinking. The window has no mosquito net. It's just one slide up from direct contact with fresh air from the outside world. I look through the blinds out into the driveway and see 2 girls smoking a cigarette as they stare at their phone screens. I wait for them to leave. Then I roll up the blinds, open the window, and climb out of the house. I call a lift 3 houses down from this one and start walking towards it, away from the microcosm of suffocating young adulthood. It feels good to do what I want. I feel like I haven't been able to do that since Nat and I got back together. On the drive home, I text Nat a white lie and tell her that her cats were making my allergies act up real bad, so I decided to go home for the night, but not to worry because that's really the only reason I left, and also that I'm sorry for climbing out of her bedroom window. Day 342. I'm leaving for Austin tomorrow. I've been smoking tons of weed and writing a new short story in my old bedroom for the past 4 days. I had to fly to Cancun to see about a doctor that could remove my tonsils. They got swollen and infected and just all around chaotic, and I'm not insured in the US. My bosses were cool about it though. My manager covered my early morning shift the day I flew back. Financially, I'm pretty fucked. I've got enough money for next month's rent and food, but this month's pretty much over. Also, as is usually the case with me, the doctors didn't know what to diagnose me with. They said it could be the cedar in Austin, or some kind of acid reflux side effect. None of them acknowledged me when I asked if stress could be a factor. Stress is for women, they probably thought. Men don't stress. Tell that to the lumps in my dad's shoulders. In any case, 2 doctors advised me to remove my tonsils, but my dad listened to a 3rd doctor, an older Mexican doctor who said removing your tonsils can do more harm than good. Instead, this doctor wanted to inject penicillin in my ass with a syringe the size of my cock so that it could form a reservoir in my muscles and stay there for 60 days. On top of that, he prescribed me 4 other medications for the next 3 weeks. It was so fucking stupid. We walked out of his office and I already knew my dad was going to say no. This doctor told him everything he wanted to hear so he wouldn't have to pay for the surgery. There was no arguing with him. So I did the next best thing. I took what little control was left and rejected the injection as well as the medications. All of them. Dad yelled at me from the front seat, his girlfriend quietly looking on. If you don't take the medication, I'm not going to pay for your next doctor's visit. You heard the doctor. Why can't you just accept that you're wrong? I laughed from the back seat and fought hard not to yell back at him. I told my dad he was full of shit and that nothing's changed since we lived together. I told myself not to feel bad for him anymore, but the truth is that I did. I was hurting so bad I didn't want to show it because I didn't want to worsen his feelings of guilt when he realized he was wrong. A stubborn fucking Mexican, just like his father. I also didn't want to give him more ammo to put me down with, so at a certain point I let go of the argument, realizing there was nothing I could do to change him or his ways. All you could hear in the car was the sound of me holding back tears as my dad released his anger onto traffic. I wish I hadn't wasted 5 days of work coming down here for nothing. My sister's been cool enough to roll me some joints and secretly deliver them to my room. If my dad knew we were smoking, he would probably lose his goddamn mind, even though he was a pothead up until his mid to late 40s. The hypocrisy, man. It drives me crazy. All I have left to do now is fly home and hope this tonsils thing doesn't happen again. It still hurts, but I guess once my body figured out there wasn't going to be surgery, it eased up on me. I've been scrolling through the channels on my old TV, reminiscing on times when 3 or 4 of my friends would sleep over and we'd played video games into the late night. Sometimes we would go for walks on the beach, also at night, and hope to get into the nudist hotels so we could see some action. But the times we did, all we saw were saggy tits and balls. I find it fitting that the only good movie on TV is the new Tom Hanks one where he plays Captain Sully and lands an airplane on the Hudson River. And because I'm stoned, I decide to watch the whole thing. I hate flying, but I love movies, so I'll risk scaring myself. Whatever. Life doesn't seem worth fighting for anymore anyway. Or does it? I think of my sister living with her boyfriend in one of my dad's villas and how fucking miserable that must be for her. I remember what it was like living here with his rules. If he didn't wake me up because he needed me to go pick up something or someone, the noise from all the construction would. Whenever I sat down to write, it was like he knew what I was doing. He would barge into the room without knocking and ask me to come outside and help him. "Get off your ass and get moving," he would say. "Are you just going to sit in here all day and do nothing?" Arguing with him about how writing isn't nothing was pointless, so I never did that. But whenever I told him I was busy, he always threatened to take away TV and car privileges. If I didn't do the things he wanted me to, when he wanted, he wouldn't do anything for me either. It took me a while to understand what was happening there, but for the longest time I remember feeling like shit was so damn unfair. Everything worked the way Dad wanted it to, even emotions. If he was in a good mood, nobody could feel differently. He would laugh at us and tell us not to complain, to look around at all the things we have. But if he was down because of self-imposed financial stress, he made sure you knew that. I've been worried about money since I was fucking 8 years old, if not earlier. My whole life I lived in mansions by the beach and went scuba diving and sailing. At the grocery store, sometimes we would fill 2 carts full of food. We went to private schools. We owned at least 2 cars at all times, and all the while, my dad kept building in other lots he owned. But still, the talk was always about how broke we were and how my dad stressed trying to make ends meet. Meanwhile, one of my best friends showed up to school in a different car every day because his father was a mechanic and couldn't afford a car of his own, so instead he drove the cars he worked on. One day, another good friend of mine's car pulled up to the drop-off area at school, but my best friend and his mechanic's dad were the ones driving it. I can't imagine my sister's reaction if it had been us in that situation. In any case, none of it was worth it to me. The fancy boats and parties, the 10 Christmas presents me and my siblings each got, and the beautiful homes my dad built for us to live in. All they did was make me feel empty. Sometimes I would run around the yard alone and kick a soccer ball against the outside of our empty guest bedroom. That's right. There was my room, my brother's room, my sister's room, my parents' room, the towel room, the living room, the TV room, the second TV room, the maid's room, the kitchen, the dining room, and then another house-sized space in the middle of it all that was where my mom would sometimes play the piano at night and scare the hell out of me. Going back home tomorrow, I realize how much happier I am now that I don't have any of these things. Not because one can't be happy with luxury, but because I was living with a miserable husband and wife who thought this was what their children needed most. When all the kids in grade school started making fun of me for the peach fuzz growing between my nose and upper lip, I needed a father to teach me how to shave. When my 4th grade girlfriend broke up with me because her mother thought she was too young to have a boyfriend, I needed my mom to teach me about romantic relationships. When I made fun of my mom because she couldn't help me with my math homework, I needed her to explain why punching down is unethical. Instead, she told me to go fuck myself. When I moved back to Cancun and started chatting with perverts on camera, I needed a parent to teach me about boundaries and independence. When I called my dad panicking because my tonsils were jabbing at the back of my throat and flew down here to get them removed, I needed him to empathize with me. Instead, I was just reminded of why I left home and why it is never a good idea to reach out to them in desperate times. I would much rather get my throat fucked because the emptiness I feel when that's over is nothing compared to the emptiness I feel every time I see them again. Maybe that's what I'm fighting for, to never have to see them again. Day 358. I'm making out with Nat on my bed, grateful I've gone 2 weeks without tonsil problems. Those same 2 weeks have helped me realize that I'm actually in a solid financial place, holding down my 2 jobs. I'm working more than I'd like to, but that also means I have less time to spend with Nat. There's always an upside. She takes off her pants and I take off mine, and we throw them on the floor next to our shirts. It's the middle of the day and both of my windows are open, letting the remains of some hot summer air into my room. I meant to tell you, Nat says. My showcase is next weekend. Do I need to buy a ticket? No, but my family will be there, and... We stop touching and kissing each other. I thought it would be a good opportunity for all of us to get dinner after. I allow some time to pass so that my answer doesn't seem premeditated. Then I say, I don't know, babe. I'm not sure that I'm ready to see them again. She sits up, so I sit up. Yeah, but it's been like a year since you last saw them. I know, and I understand that it's important to you. I just think right now I'd rather focus on making sure that you and I are happy together before we start talking about family again. I worry that things like that can make us fight more. I don't know what to do, she says, and all of a sudden the conversation is about something entirely different. What do you mean? It's just such an important weekend for me, and I wish you'd make an effort to do the things that I want for once. It's not about you and my family. It's about me and my career. My upper body feels hollow, like Nat just carved me out from inside with her words. I understand, I tell her. I really do. And I wish that I could make you happy like that, because you deserve it. Her face turns red as the tears start to roll down her cheeks. What do I do? She asks. I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. It's okay. You do whatever you need to do. Whatever feels right. If you're worried about hurting me, don't be. I'll be okay. Do whatever's best for you. I can't stop myself from crying now either. It's like that self-destructive, self-preserving side of me is dormant. It's gone into hibernation because it just can't take any more suffering. Nothing comes to mind that can save me from what's about to happen because the only thing that can is out of the question for me. Fuck, at least I know myself well enough to know that the pain from seeing her parents again would be worse than the pain I feel right now, watching my baby girl cry, seeing the hurt I've brought to her life all gather up in her eyes and nose and mouth. I've let her down in a completely different way than I'm used to. She starts with, I'm sorry. Her crying stops her from saying the rest. When she's composed enough, she looks up from the bed at my eyes and says, I want to be with someone that wants to spend time with my friends and family. I love you so much, but I really need that from someone if I'm going to be in a relationship with them. The whole thing makes sense. There's really no arguing against it. I also don't want to put her through an ugly breakup because I've put her through enough already. This feels like the last thing I can do for her. Like if I do this right, then I'll have righted all my wrongs. I wipe tears from my eyes and put on a brave face. I understand, I say. It's okay. We kiss one last time. I really feel so much love for you, she says. At this point in my life, I'm not sure that I know what love even looks like, but I still say it back. I love you too. We stand up and go into the living room. I open the door for her and she hugs me once more before stepping out into those same remnants of hot summer air. Her curls wave goodbye at me, and I am alone again.